Chapter 305. Founding Era Filming Area. After a day of studying props and familiarizing himself with the venue, Feng Zhao brought Ji Polin and the others to the gourmet street for a meal in the afternoon. There are indeed a lot of things in this gourmet city, but the prices aren't low. A young actor looked at the prices on the menu and said, "Does the Bureau of Commodity Prices manage this area?" It doesn't seem to matter. There were a lot of choices on the food street, but the prices were expensive. But thinking about it, these vegetables had all been grown on planet-wise farmlands. They were all grown naturally, had no added hormones, and were not synthetic ingredients, so the taste was pretty good. Most importantly, many of these fruits and vegetables had only existed during the old era. It was said that after they were bred on planet Y, they were only available on planet Y. Therefore, eating these dishes was to show off. When all the dishes were served, Feng Zhao had just picked up his chopsticks when he heard Ji Polin say, "Big brother Zhao, hold on. Let me sterilize first." As he spoke, he took out his equipment and took pictures of the dishes on the table. He even took a few pictures from different angles. Can't you take some photos and save them if you don't have internet? When it was time to go online a week later, he would go online and show off. "Okay, the disinfection is complete. You can eat now. Wait, let me take a few pictures too. I was so hungry that I almost forgot about it. Please wait a moment, I'll take a selfie." Other than Feng Zhao, the other 7 people were taking pictures of the dishes on the table and taking selfies from all sorts of angles. Feng Zhao thought for a bit and took a picture of the table. It wasn't because he wanted to show off on the internet like everyone else thought, but because he remembered great-grandfather Feng had asked him to take a picture of the food here. Great-grandfather Feng wanted to know how Feng Zhao was eating here. He would send it to great-grandfather Feng when the internet was connected. "Big brother Zhao, let's take a picture together." Ji Polin leaned over to fawn over. "Let's do it together." The others also squeezed over. The 8 of them took a group photo together. Feng Zhao involuntarily flashed a grandfatherly smile at the camera. Over the next few days, Feng Zhao ate at the cafeteria for lunch. As it was close by, he would head to the gourmet street for a meal after completing his study assignments in the afternoon, reminiscing about the old era. The staff of the cafeteria, the shop assistants, and the chefs of the food street were mostly family members of the military. Some of them were also fans of celebrities. At first, they were very excited to see celebrities. This place was truly a gathering of heroes and stars. He really wanted to brag about it online. Have you ever seen 40 to 50 best actors and best actresses acting together? I've seen it before. Have you ever seen 8 S-list A-listers eating hot pot together? I've seen it before. Heavenly kings, heavenly queens, celebrities, superstars, we have them all here, ha ha. The shop assistants and staff here were either the kind of people who knew their place, working quietly and not saying anything, or they were the kind of people with high EQ, who were smart and knew what to say and what to do. Those who were restless and thought that they were smart didn't even come here. Therefore, there were no photos that damaged the celebrity's image leaked out. The photos were also taken with the consent of the celebrities. But soon the situation changed. For example, when a cafeteria worker first saw a celebrity, it was like this. XX best actor / best actress / goddess, hello. Can I have your autograph? One day later. Please wait for a moment. Your dishes will be ready soon. Can we take a photo together? Excited. Another day. Coming. Another day. Line up. I'm talking to you. Why are you still looking? In less than a week, the staff of the cafeteria had changed their attitude towards these influential movie stars from rare animals to as many as dogs. Now when they saw the stars again, their hearts didn't waver. Over the next few days, a small group had formed around Feng Zhao. Sometimes they would eat together. Silver Wings side was split into 2 groups. One was led by Heelisi, and the other was led by Feng Zhao. The former group consisted of Yinzhou's A-list actors and a few older veterans, while the latter group consisted mainly of second- and third-rate young actors. There were many small groups like theirs, and the larger group was formed very quickly. Founding Era was a large project. It was large because it was made up of 11 chapters. During the founding era, there were 11 great generals, and these 11 chapters revolved around these 11 main characters. Every chapter had an executive director. For the Yenjo chapter, the executive director was called Bai Duan, who was also a famous director. Roman was rarely seen, but Feng Zhao saw Bai Duan every day. Some of the tasks he had were also assigned by Bai Duan. Due to Yenjo's special nature, Feng Zhao's role in the opening chapter was rather heavy. Therefore, Bai Duan often sought Feng Zhao out for a chat, and assigned him many tasks before filming officially started. The dormitory was some distance away from the filming location, and there was a shuttle at a fixed time every day. It wasn't a public bus that could be seen everywhere in the new era. Instead, it was an armored version of a MCV. It was bulletproof and resistant to the elements. Even a hail the size of a fist wouldn't hurt the passengers inside. Of course, even if the environment here was vile, it wasn't that extreme. The cast and crew were here to film, not to play a survival game. Today, Feng Zhao took the morning bus to the filming location. Today he had a few places to visit. Director Bai wanted him to understand more about Feng Zhao's working environment. When Feng Zhao arrived, Director Bai was instructing people to move some equipment. When he saw Feng Zhao, Director Bai called out to someone, "You there? Bring Feng Zhao to Film Studio Y71. G. Poland appeared out of nowhere. Director Bai, let me go. I know where Film Studio Y71 is. Director Bai didn't mind. He waved his hand and signaled for Feng Zhao to hurry over. G. Poland led Feng Zhao to Film Studio Y71. Yesterday, I was familiarizing myself with the set at Film Studio Y70. Y71 is just beside it, so I know it well. Along the way, they met a few Silver Wing actors who were close to Feng Zhao. They didn't have urgent matters, so they tagged along to take a look. When Feng Zhao arrived at Film Studio Y71, there were other people inside. Elise was also there, chatting with another middle-aged actor. Feng Zhao didn't go over to disturb him. Instead, he sized up the set. This was a conference room. The setting was similar to the first scene of the audition, except this place was more realistic. Clearly, it had been recreated after referencing historical materials. Even the scratches on the table were almost identical to those in historical footage. Feng Zhao walked along the long table, his fingers brushing across the surface, feeling the uneven marks on the surface. He walked all the way to a seemingly ordinary chair placed in front of the table. At this moment, the vibrant colors of the new era's cities had already faded. Many memories in his mind had been awakened. That world of blood, flames of war, dust, and gloom had once again become clear. There wasn't enough lighting in the room, and the auxiliary lights weren't switched on. When Elise saw Feng Zhao walk over, he opened his mouth to warn him not to touch anything. At the side, a young actor's elbow accidentally knocked over a metal cup. The cup rolled on the floor with a gurgle. Sensing something, that actor looked over and met Feng Zhao's gaze. In that instant, he felt as though all the blood in his body was about to freeze. His ice-cold, sharp gaze was like a sharpened hunting knife that was pressing down on him. That kind of bone-piercing pressure seemed to be mixed with the stench of blood, making it hard to breathe. Feng Zhao had been casual ever since he had entered the film studio. The people in the room had not been mentally prepared. All of a sudden, all of them were stunned. The entire film studio Y71 was silent. Feng Zhao. Is Feng Zhao here? Director Bai's shout came from outside. Following this shout, in the blink of an eye, the frozen atmosphere in the room dissipated. It was as though that scene had never happened. Feng Zhao responded, smiled apologetically at the people in the room, and left in quick steps. He had been a little immersed in his memories and had not restrained his gaze, scaring this bunch of kids. After Feng Zhao left, the person who had knocked over the cup felt the blood in his body slowly warm up. His heart was beating rapidly, as though he had just escaped death. This was the first time he had felt this. Even when the spacecraft had been acting strangely, he had not been this scared. The other actors in the room could not help but exclaim, "Oh my God! Did you guys see the look in his eyes just now? My scalp went numb. My legs felt a little weak. Scary. Didn't you say this brother was rather amiable yesterday? How is he amiable?" He is usually very amiable to us. Who knew he was like this when he was acting? The person who was being criticized tried to defend himself. I finally understand why he can get an important supporting role, while I can only get a role that won't last one season. We are simply not on the same level. That imposing manner just now was really awesome. I was caught off guard and was stunned. I definitely would have forgotten my lines when I was acting with him. I still thought that the imposing manner written in the script was exaggerated. What an eye-opener. No wonder everyone is risking their lives to get into this kind of high-class cast. They are all experts. Feng Zhao hasn't even put on makeup. If he did, wouldn't he have the aura of a great man? Just someone like Feng Zhao would definitely not lose out to those old veterans of showbiz if he were to compete head-on. He Lizzie, who was standing to the side, pursed his lips. He had forgotten what he wanted to say. He took a deep breath and replayed the scene in his mind. The imposing manner that Feng Zhao had displayed just now had seemed innate. It had been released and retracted at will. If it had been he Lizzie acting, he might not have been able to do it to such a degree. No, it wasn't that he might not have been able to do it. It was impossible. No wonder Roman had strongly recommended him. No wonder more than 20 members of the Committee of 100 had voted for him. This little fellow had really hidden himself well. When he Lizzie thought about how he would have to compete with Feng Zhao for a long time in the future, he felt immense pressure. Ji Polin, who had regained his composure, also took a deep breath. Before he could express his thoughts, he heard someone beside him sigh. I just realized that the thigh we are hugging is really thick. Ji Polin nodded his head in agreement. He was even more determined to hug this golden thigh tightly. He turned back to glance at a few other young actors from the same company, and gave chase in the direction that Feng Zhao had left. When the others saw this, they also hurried over. If they wanted to hug this thigh tightly, what would they do if they lost him? Outside, Director Bai had assigned Feng Zhao some additional tasks that would be used later on in the filming. Not far away, a few people were paying attention. That's Feng Zhao. Yes, that's the one. He looks SOSO and doesn't seem special. How did he manage to squeeze out a bunch of veteran actors and snatch such an important role? Who knows? Maybe he has connections in the government. I don't believe you if you say he doesn't have any connections. I really don't. I heard someone say that Feng Zhao's family came out to clarify. After speaking to Feng Zhao, Director Bai went to look for the other actors. Ji Polin and a few others hurried over. Big Brother Zhao, are you free? I have a question about acting that I would like to ask. Feng Zhao was about to reply when he saw a silhouette from the corner of his eye. It was a person wearing a military uniform with a Y Garrison insignia. Feng Zhao had seen this person at Y Base before, and this person was clearly heading his way. Hold on, Feng Zhao told Ji Polin and the others. It's fine. Big Brother Zhao, you go ahead. We're not in a hurry, Ji Polin and the others hurriedly said. They followed Feng Zhao's line of sight and saw that person. From his military rank, he seemed to be a major. He walked over expressionlessly. As filming had not officially started, some areas on set had not been sealed off. Soldiers could be seen entering the set from time to time, but they were usually there to help transport goods or equipment. It was rare to see soldiers directly looking for an actor. When the major saw Feng Zhao, he saluted first. Feng Zhao returned the salute. Seeing this scene, someone whispered to the person beside him, "What's going on?" "No idea. I'm just curious. That major was so cold just now, but now he's smiling like he's meeting his own brother. That Feng Zhao seems to have quite a background." Ji Polin and the others stared unblinkingly. They watched as the major said something to Feng Zhao and handed him a military communications device. Feng Zhao took it and greeted Director Bai. Director Bai nodded without hesitation. A young actor standing beside Ji Polin rubbed his chin thoughtfully as he watched Feng Zhao's departing figure. Why do I feel like this thigh we're hugging is even thicker? On the other side, Feng Zhao walked over to an empty lounge and took the call. Haha, long time no see. Feng Zhao, how are you doing on set? Are you nervous? Y Base's commanding officer Hui laughed. Filming hasn't officially started yet. Not nervous. Is something the matter? Feng Zhao did not believe that a high-ranking busy person like Hui would personally contact him just to ask this sort of nonsense. I have something to discuss with you. Why base? Zhuoyu pointed a trembling finger at a group of armed soldiers blocking the entrance. Shameless. Shameless. Even snatching a dog. Chapter 306. Speaking of which, that day, the captain of the transport ship had brought Curly Hair to inspect a few of the cargo holds. They had indeed found something, but not much. After all, the security machines in the spaceport and the elite dogs from the police dog academy weren't just for show. But the fish that had escaped the net was real. When they returned to Planet Y and saw that Yin Biao and Zhuoyu were about to take the dog away, the captain couldn't help but report the matter to his superiors. Hui now placed a lot of importance on the safety of cargo at the port. Seeing that Planet Y was on the rise and was developing, it wouldn't be good if something happened. When he found out, he immediately said, "Tell those 2 bodyguards that we need to arrange immigration checks for the dog. Don't let them take the dog away." The captain wasn't very confident. What if they don't agree? What right do they have to say? Get someone to stop them. The dog isn't the bodyguards. "I will look for the dog's owner directly," Hui said. The captain was relieved. "Commander, you must leave the dog behind. This dog is much better than the machines at the spaceport. I don't know how long Founding Era will be filmed here. The transport ship will surely transport things over frequently. Even if it's not me, there will be other transport ships coming over. Our military budget is far lower than Planet Baiji's. Although the security checks have sent over a batch of new machines, it still isn't safe. We should learn from the port machines and dogs model on our home planet. Didn't you ask for a dog from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy? Will it arrive this year?" "Yes, I will urge them in a bit." A total of 9. The captain of the transport ship was elated when he heard this news. Although other dogs might not have Curly Hair's ability, every time he returned to Earth to load goods, he would be extremely envious of the police dog team at the spaceport. Machines were machines, police dogs were police dogs. The dogs from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy had always been in high demand. "So many? They are willing. Didn't they say that they couldn't even gather 5 dogs in the past?" The captain voiced his doubts. "It's because the Founding Era film crew is here, and the higher-ups are giving us some support. That's why the Muzhou Police Dog Academy is being so generous." Hui had actually asked for a dog from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy 5 years ago. At that time, Planet Y had been a poor place, and the security screening machines had been rather outdated. They had used machines that had been discarded from planets that were at the forefront of the development sequence. Hui had thought that since the military could not afford the machines, due to the lack of military funds, they could just raise a dog, right? In the end, when he asked, he found out that the dogs at the Muzhou Police Dog Academy were not cheap. Most importantly, he could not snatch one. The moment there was a good seedling, it would be reserved. Planet Y simply would not get a chance. Now that Planet Y had developed a little better, Hui had the confidence to complain to his superiors about being poor. Then, with the help of the Founding Era cast and crew, it was finally about to arrive. He had heard about Curly Hair again today. Hui had originally wanted to ask for Curly Hair. It was just a dog. He could use some benefits to exchange for Curly Hair. However, when he searched for the value of this dog on the internet, Hui felt his teeth ache. Looking at the news, Hui knew that it was basically impossible for the dog to come over. Although he knew this, Hui still probed Fang Zhao's intentions during the call. He knew that Fang Zhao really would not sell Curly Hair to them. Hui had no choice but to switch to another strategy. "You definitely brought Curly Hair over, because you are worried about leaving such an expensive dog at home. Bringing him over to Planet Y, the film studio complex, is not much better. Now that the crooks are mixed in with the honest folks, who knows if your dog will be coveted? It would be better for him to stay at our base. When the time comes, there will be puppies from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy as companions. They will also be assigned a trainer and a professional breeder to take good care of the dog. I have already marked out the location. It will be an especially large piece of land. Our Planet Y has a lot of land." Fang Zhao did not say anything. He knew that Hui definitely had more to say. Indeed, Hui continued, "We can let Curly Hair serve at our base. He can play however he wants. He just has to follow the transport ship for a round when it arrives. This is a good thing for dogs. Dogs with military service history in their files can enjoy government subsidies even when they grow old. Although you don't lack that bit of money, this is also a kind of honor, isn't it? Even if Curly Hair goes back with you, there will be many places where he can enjoy preferential treatment. Feng Zhao requested a video call to see Curly Hair's current situation. Huai saw that Feng Zhao did not reject immediately and knew that this matter could be discussed. He was in a good mood. All right, I will bring you over to take a look. That little fella is very happy. Huai really wasn't lying. After switching to a video call, Feng Zhao saw Curly Hair. Curly Hair was wearing the uniform with the Y base insignia. Curly Hair seemed rather happy. The uniform Curly Hair was wearing had originally been prepared for the puppies from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy. But Curly Hair was a small dog and suited him. Don't worry. He will only be used for smuggling, drug searches, and the like. The working environment is rather safe. He won't be used for dangerous military missions, Huai said. Huai had personally called, which meant that Y Base really valued this matter. This was a decision that had been made after much discussion, and not on a whim. I will make a trip over tonight after filming. We can discuss the details then, Feng Zhao said. All right, I will let the cast and crew know. That day, after Feng Zhao completed Director Bai's assignment, he did not go to the gourmet food street with Ji Polin and the others. Instead, he took a flying transport to Y Base. Feng Zhao saw that Curly Hair was in high spirits. The little fella was in a good mood. Feng Zhao knew that Curly Hair had agreed to serve here. The people at Y Base had thought that Curly Hair did not understand when they had spoken, but he had actually heard everything. Otherwise, he would have rebelled long ago. How could he have waited obediently at the base without seeing Yin Biao and Zhuoyu? Feng Zhao went to take a look at the area that Huai had mentioned was specially set up for dog training and activities. It wasn't any smaller than Dongshan Farm, and many training facilities had already been installed. Curly Hair ran all over the place the moment he arrived, and played with all the training facilities, as if they were toys. Feng Zhao also met the breeder here. He was from Muzhou and was a dog lover. He wasn't a bad person. Huai valued this matter. And there were still 9 puppies from the Muzhou Police Dog Academy. Even if this breeder wasn't reliable, there were still trainers and breeders from Muzhou. Feng Zhao saw Curly Hair running over fawningly and asked, "Do you want to serve here?" Woof. Curly Hair barked forcefully. Feng Zhao looked at Curly Hair silently until Curly Hair's tail did not dare wag. Feng Zhao smiled and said, "All right." Feng Zhao left after discussing the conditions with Huai. Huai returned to base satisfied. Although Feng Zhao was busy with filming, and might not be able to come out often after filming started, he would let Yin Biao and Zhuoyu come over from time to take a look. Every day, he would let the breeder update him on Curly Hair's situation. Of course, Huai did not have that much time to care about all this. His objective had been achieved by borrowing the dog. Everything else was a small matter. He left it to the breeder, who was in charge of reporting the situation to Feng Zhao. Starting the day after tomorrow, Curly Hair would serve on Y Base until Feng Zhao finished filming. As for today, Feng Zhao still let Yin Biao and Zhuoyu bring Curly Hair back to the film studio complex and send him to the base the day after tomorrow. After Huai finished his discussion with Feng Zhao, he urged Muzhou to send the puppies over as soon as possible. The venue had already been prepared, and the dog trainers had already been selected. They had already undergone a year of training, and were just waiting for the dogs to be sent over. At the same time, he also used the matter of Curly Hair to provoke them. The people of Muzhou had always believed that their own continent's dogs were the most impressive, and the Muzhou Police Dog Academy, which was widely recognized as the place where the most outstanding dogs were produced, had always thought of itself as the big brother in the industry. That was, until a Yinzhou dog had forced Muzhou's sheep herding competition to change its rules. Muzhou Police Dog Academy. Who? Which dog did you say was on planet Y? A certain leader of the Police Dog Academy picked his ears, thinking he had heard wrong. Curly Hair, the one that belongs to Feng Zhao. The people at Y Base have taken a liking to him. I heard that Commanding Officer Hui personally called Fang Zhao to ask for the dog, but Fang Zhao did not give it to him, a trainer replied. Nonsense. Only a moron would give it to him. After some thought, the leader added, tell the people at Planet Y to be more careful. Outstanding military and police dogs are easy to be hated when they carry out too many missions. Pay attention to privacy. As he spoke, he glanced at the 9 puppies prepared for Planet Y and raised his hand. Withdraw those 3 and switch with Class 1. There are only 7 puppies in Class 1. Didn't you say that you were leaving them for your own people? The trainers were reluctant to part with them. The dogs at the Police Dog Academy were also divided into different classes. Class 1 had the most outstanding batch of puppies. All right, our Mujo has many good dogs. There will be more in the future. This time, we will send them to Planet Y. The leader looked at the puppies that were about to be sent to Planet Y. Perform well. Don't lose to Yenzhou dogs. Y Film Studio Base. Fang Zhao returned to the cast and crew. Zuoyu and Yan Biao brought curly hair back. The flying transport landed near the film studio complex. There was already a car waiting for them. Yan Biao had contacted an old comrade who worked at the film studio complex to pick them up. These cars had been rented from the base. Many people in the film studio complex rented cars from the Y military, so their car was not eye-catching. In the dark, a figure quickly returned to the film studio complex after Zuoyu and Yin Biao's car left. This was an entertainment reporter who had snuck into the film studio complex. Recently, he hadn't been able to dig up any news. There wasn't much to dig up in the film studio complex. The big stars had all gone to the cast of Founding Era, but they couldn't get in. Tonight, he had snuck out to try his luck near the film studio complex. He hadn't expected to actually capture something. After returning to the film studio complex, the entertainment reporter returned to his rented room. Inside were 2 of his partners from the studios. From the looks of it, did you get something? What did you get? Which star? Hey, you guys will never guess. The entertainment reporter took out the photos he had taken that night. This person is Fang Zhao's bodyguard. People in this line of work would try their best to remember the managers, assistants, bodyguards, and the like. If they couldn't remember, they would bring along information. Entertainment reporters from every continent knew about Fang Zhao's casting for Founding Era. Isn't that the dog worth more than 200 million? Another person noticed the main point of the photo. Shouldn't Fang Zhao be filming with the cast and crew? Why did he get his bodyguard to bring the dog? How would I know? The reporter paused the video he had secretly taken and pointed to a spot on the screen. Why base personnel sent it over? Look at this flying transport. It has the base's insignia. The reporter took a few screenshots. Even if he couldn't get a shot of a star, he could still get some news on the dog. Think about how to fabricate these photos to attract the most netizens. Link it to Fang Zhao's family. That dog is also a hot topic. 200 million. It's one of the most valuable pets in the world. As for the truth, did it matter? They were used to making up stories based on photos. Hey, wait a minute. The reporter who had been watching the video and pondering how to fabricate news suddenly said, Fang Zhao's bodyguard seems to have noticed you. Over here. He's looking in your direction. Don't worry. As long as I'm not targeted by the military, I'll be fine. All I did was take a picture of a dog. Can they arrest me? As he said this, the doorbell rang. The 3 of them were startled and looked at the door cautiously. The leader made a hand signal, and one of them turned on the surveillance screen. Sir, the takeaway has arrived. The person on the other side of the door was wearing a delivery uniform with the hotel's name on it. It was indeed a familiar face. He flashed a set of pearly white teeth at the camera above the door. The 3 of them, who had been tensed up, relaxed. They often ordered takeaway, and there were no drones in the film studio complex. Everything was delivered by people arranged by the hotel. So it's the dinner I ordered. You gave me a fright. Eat before work. Let's fabricate the news tonight. The moment the door opened, more than 10 black muzzles were pointed at them. The 3 of them, fully armed soldiers, barged in. In a few breaths' time, the entire house was searched, and all kinds of secret camera equipment and storage devices were confiscated. Take them away." From start to finish, the three entertainment reporters were not given a chance to speak. The squad quickly left. Nighttime in the film studio complex was also very lively. Many people knew about the commotion here. Usually, unless there was a major incident, planet-wise military would not interfere with matters within the film studio complex. As long as you didn't leave the city, you could fool around all day long. Sneaking out of the city and out of the military's boundaries, as long as you didn't cause any trouble, even if you were caught, you would at most be fined some money. This was the first time someone had entered the city to make an arrest. After finding out who had been arrested, the other entertainment reporters in the film studio complex began to speculate. What exactly were those guys filming? Looking at this situation, could it be that they have captured something related to military secrets? Aren't they courting death? If they're filming celebrities, then so be it. Why are they filming the military? Are they tired of living? The entertainment reporter, who had been taken away, was on the verge of breaking down. "I fucking only filmed a dog today." Elsewhere in the film studio complex, Zuoyu looked in the direction of the commotion and told Yen Biao, "When I was still in the special forces, I heard someone say that the Muzhou Police Dog Academy had produced an ace dog. It had carried out missions at many ports and made many contributions, including a first-class merit medal. You should know what a first-class merit medal is. Without a huge contribution, you can't get one." Yen Biao did not speak. Even if they were not from the same system, he knew how rare a first-class merit medal was. Even a human would find it difficult to obtain one, let alone a dog. It was indeed worthy of the title Ace Dog. Back then, the Muzhou Police Dog Academy was very high profile. They flaunted this ace dog many times, and there were many media reports. Later, because it had made too many contributions, it was hated by others. A wanted order was issued with a 20 million bounty. The police officer with it was very worried when he found out about it. He sent 20 policemen to protect it day and night. Then it was sniped and killed during a mission. After that, the Muzhou Police Dog Academy changed its strategy and protected these elite dogs that didn't lose to machines very well. They also rarely let the media report on them. Zuoyu was worried when he thought about what he had heard in the past. Working at the port is still very dangerous. Boss is really comfortable with curly hair doing the security checks? Yen Biao spread his hands. Boss said that this was curly hair's own choice. Now boss is filming on Planet Y, curly hair is doing his military service at the base, and the two of us can continue to be bystanders. Chapter 307. After settling curly hair's matters, the cast and crew officially started filming. Once they officially started filming, everyone in the cast and crew's pace of life became extremely fast. Many people had thought that they were already busy enough during the preparation period. Unexpectedly, they didn't even have time to go to the gourmet food court during the official filming period. Not just the gourmet food court, even the number of times they went to the cafeteria was greatly reduced. Every time, it was the cafeteria staff who delivered lunch boxes. The next time they could sit down and have a good meal would probably be when their individual scenes were done. 11 chapters were being filmed at the same time, and there were 11 filming teams. No one wanted to fall behind. On one hand, there was a sense of competition. On the other hand, the lead director was watching from the back. No one dared to slack off. Don't be fooled by Roman's casual demeanor before filming started. Sometimes he would even joke around with the actors. But when he got serious, Roman was very frightening. He would immediately transform into a demon. Roman wished he could grab a whip and stare at each team every day. If any team's progress was slow, he would give them a good beating. Of course, he wouldn't really give them a whip. But Roman didn't give them any face when he scolded them. A-list and super first-rate actors, as well as the executive directors and assistant directors of the various teams, were all scolded by Roman until they doubted their own lives. For actors and actresses, the most relaxing time was probably the 2 hours of precious time they had to surf the internet every 7 days. Under most circumstances, these 2 hours were the time the cast and crew gave everyone a break. Every 7 days, These 2 hours were also the time when the cast and crew were the most relaxed. Both physically and mentally, they were more relaxed. This was because this was the only time they could go online to find some comfort and vent their frustrations. Regardless of whether it was chatting with family members or surfing the headlines online, it was much more relaxing than filming. Every time that time came, the internet would be especially lively. All the big-name actors and their teams would fight to grab the headlines. Before it was time for the cast and crew to surf the internet, they would quickly search for other news. When it came to the 2 hours 7 days later, everything else had to give way. These 2 hours were also nicknamed Founding Era time. Fans were also counting down the days waiting for those 2 hours. There was no need for additional publicity or special advertising. Once the time came, it would automatically become Founding Era time. Every time this time came, the traffic on various websites and social media platforms would soar like rockets. The film crew and some of the crew members would take advantage of this time to show off the photos and videos that they had been saving for a week. What could be released and what could not was clearly stated in the rules that were given to everyone in the production team. The news of 3 entertainment reporters being taken away by the soldiers at the film studio had also reached the production team. Roman had purposely leaked the news to warn those who were ready to make trouble. Don't think you're smart, and don't think you can get away with it. You're not abiding by the rules and regulations of the production team? You want to expose content outside of the rules and regulations? This was what Roman said. Go ahead and send it. If you can send it out, it's my loss. Did they really think that no one was monitoring the internet? Don't look for me when the army comes knocking on your door. Scram! On the online interactive platform, a C-list actor updated his personal status. I got my lunchbox. The accompanying picture was a picture of a lunchbox. The dishes were tempting and mouth-watering. It was quite eye-catching. Fans who didn't know the truth laughed in the comments section. The food for the crew is not bad, and the portions are sufficient. I heard that the filming environment was tough, but I'm relieved to see you eating so well. Looking closely, there are a total of 8 dishes, including fruits and drinks. So rich. Most importantly, there are actually 6 dishes that I haven't eaten before. Isn't that planet-wise specialty? I've never eaten such a luxurious lunchbox before. So envious. Give me one of these lunchboxes too. But very quickly, an actor who had a good relationship with him forwarded. Brother, take care, Candle. I can still persevere for a few more days. Another actor from the same continent also joined in the fun. Candle, you guys go first. I'll join you guys later. Soon after, other actors also forwarded. Fans were puzzled. Judging from their tone, something doesn't seem right. Is there a reason behind this? There were also people who went to the official Founding Era account to ask. Founding Era officials had specially released a message explaining the special significance of this lunchbox. The production team's canteen would prepare a sumptuous lunchbox for those who had finished filming their scenes. Seeing this, fans ran to the accounts of their idols to light candles. The onlookers were also interested. As soon as they saw an actor's latest status was an exquisite, fragrant, and plentiful boxed lunch, they would rush over to light the candle, and the comment section below would be filled with a long line of candles. You finished filming so quickly? Candle. I wonder when I'll be able to see it. When will the show be broadcast? I'm looking forward to it. Candle. Does that mean that the character in the movie is dead? Su Qianxi asked. Candle, take care, Candle. Candle saw quite a few similar messages today. The frequency at which the cast and crew of Founding Era are giving out bento boxes is a little high. There are so many celebrities from all 12 continents in the world, so of course there will be a lot of bento boxes. Although some people had a bad feeling when they saw so many bento boxes and candles, most of the netizens were just having fun. It was a once-a-week party, so of course they would play to their heart's content. Furthermore, everyone's expectations for Founding Era were mostly based on having fun and guessing which episode their own fans would receive their bento box. The fans had it easy, but the actors had it tough. The intensity of filming was not a big deal for actors with decades of experience. They were used to it. But to insist on filming under bad weather conditions was a little unbearable. For example, yesterday's weather had suddenly changed, and there had been a sudden hailstorm. Everyone had thought that outdoor filming would be stopped, and everyone would steal some time to rest. They had not expected that Roman would be especially happy. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Hurry up. What a favorable time and place. Everyone make some adjustments. Those scenes that correspond, let's start filming first. The hailstones were not very big, and would not injure them if they hit their bodies, but they would be a little painful. The lead director was watching from the side, so the actors gritted their teeth and went on. There were medical staff at the side. After filming, they would check on your body and give you medicine and injections. They would not let you get sick. Roman controlled the speed very well, and would not really put the actors' lives in danger. They endured the pain and did not get sick, but their bodies and minds were very tired. The actors felt like they were being tortured. Thinking back, at the start, the props instructor had told them to eat a few good meals first. Now they felt like they had eaten too little. Now that they were filming, there were times when they were very hungry and very tired, but they could not eat anything. A Mujo actor privately ridiculed, "This is simply using people as livestock." Whether they were happy or not, in order not to delay filming, they still had to do it. Even if it was a high-class celebrity who had brought along a team of assistants when filming, they still had to follow the requirements of founding era. They still had to force themselves to adapt. What else could they do? If they were sent back, they would lose face. Furthermore, they were not stupid. Who would be willing to give up such an opportunity? As long as they could endure it, the benefits would be immeasurable. Every management company had long warned their own artists that if anyone courted death during filming and caused trouble, affecting the filming of the cast and crew, the company would remove this stain in advance without the need for anyone in the cast to say anything. This was to prevent the incident from affecting their own artists. But after 2 months of filming, there were still a few big-name actors with experience who could not help but give suggestions to the director. Technology was advancing at a rapid pace. In the past, when they had filmed similar scenes, they had used computer special effects to solve the problem. They had only needed to act indoors. Their acting skills were up to par. And with the addition of technology, they had filmed very well. They had also won awards. This had always been the case. Now they had to film in real locations. Even if they had to film in real locations, it was not like they had not shot such scenes before. However, some scenes had to be filmed in bad weather, which was not right. They could obviously avoid all this, yet they had to film in real locations. Wasn't this a regression in technology? Thus, they had come up with a plan and wanted to fight for some benefits, hoping to avoid such situations. It was not like they could not film the same scenes. Why would they have to suffer so much? Then, they received a heartless rejection from Roman. If you want to act, then act. If you don't, then scram. A long time ago, when technology was not so advanced, didn't actors still act the same? You want to act as a hero, but you can't even endure 1% of the hardships. You are unable to personally experience the situation at that time. You are unable to act more deeply and perfectly. What can you do to save yourselves? Acting skills that are not even as good as a newcomer's. What can you do to save yourselves? Acting skills that are not even as good as a newcomer's. Acting skills that are not even as good as a newcomer's. A group of award-winning actors and actresses felt as if their chests had been stabbed by a knife. As for the newcomer he had mentioned, who else could it be? Feng Zhao. Who did not know that Feng Zhao was a newcomer actor recommended by Roman? He was also the only actor under the age of 30 who had taken on an important role in founding era. When the weather was bad, Roman had set to film, and Feng Zhao had done so without a word. Most importantly, his acting skills were top-notch. Everyone could see that he was indeed very suitable for that role, and could act it well. At the same time, Feng Zhao was also the only one who had not used a stunt double for 2 months of filming. He had done the fight scenes and stunts himself. Because the stunt double and stunt team had not done as well as Feng Zhao, Roman, who pursued perfect filming effects, had directly said, "Feng Zhao, you do it yourself." In the eyes of the cast and crew, Fang Zhao was someone who dared to fight and fight. As an actor, there was nothing much to say about him. He had also received the approval of many seniors in the industry. But approval was approval. Every time Roman brought it up to attack others, who could take it well? Look at Fang Zhao. This was what Roman often said. This time it was even better. All he had done was raise a suggestion, and Roman had said, "What can you do to save yourselves?" Acting skills that are not even as good as a newcomer's. It had to be said that Roman's ability to incur hatred for Fang Zhao in the cast and crew was top-notch. Every time Fang Zhao went to the cafeteria to eat, he would receive many gloomy gazes. As for Zero, his scenes had not started yet. Right now, he was undergoing training and honing his acting skills every day. But he was listless. Today, he had not gone through 2 training sessions. Zero came out of the restroom for the 7th time, his entire body listless from diarrhea. After taking the medicine his agent had just bought, he felt slightly better. But before his mood could soar, he raised his head and saw Barbara in front of him, holding a fan in her hand. Barbara's scenes had not started yet. During this period, she was also undergoing training here. Zero looked at the temperature outside. It was -7 degrees Celsius. Although there was an air conditioner indoors, it was definitely not hot. Who would bring a fan outside when the temperature was so low? The way Zero looked at Barbara was like he was looking at a lunatic. Barbara gave Zero a sidelong glance, as if she was looking at a piece of trash. "I heard you are not acclimatized." "Acclimatized? How am I not acclimatized?" Zero replied immediately, "That weak stomach of yours." Barbara looked at Zero disdainfully and sneered. Trash. Although Barbara was usually pretentious and always had the air of an aristocrat, her physique was really strong. She had fully inherited what people called Lajo's royal family. The Lacalina family seemed weak, but in reality, they had a monstrous physique. She indeed had the capital to look down on Zero. Zero was infuriated by the evaluation of trash. He turned his head and told his agent, "Go, buy me a 40-meter broadsword. I will fight it out with her." Zero's agent hurriedly pulled Zero back and said in a low voice, "Senior Master, let's not bicker with her. Let's study the script and strive to pass it in one take. When the series starts broadcasting, the governor will also want to watch it. The old master will surely watch it too." Zero did not think much of it when his agent mentioned the governor, but when he heard old master, his whole body tensed up. After weighing the pros and cons, Zero raised his hand and pointed at Barbara. "Just you wait." After saying this, he turned around and left with his agent. "How do you feel after taking the medicine?" Zero's agent was worried. As a guest assistant, he still had to take care of Zero's basic necessities. On account of his high salary, he could not let anything happen to Zero. After taking the medicine, Zero's spirit had returned. Hearing his agent's question, Zero thought about it seriously and said, "I am very good now. I reckon that I have already cleansed my muscles and marrow." Zero's agent: "No, you were just messing around by eating. You are jumping around now because I went to buy the medicine. Hey, is there any other way to quickly improve my acting skills? I feel that my acting is not bad. Why do those teachers still want me to improve?" Zero asked, puzzled. Zero's agent looked at Zero expressionlessly for a few seconds. The role that the Lijo governor had arranged for Zero would only appear in the later stages of the 2nd season. This arrangement was to give Zero sufficient time to hone his eye-piercing acting skills. In the past, the series that he had invested in and acted in had barely been watchable, because the other actors had not acted seriously. Furthermore, Zero's strong points had been deliberately magnified. Everything had been for the sake of Zero, the main character, and the investors. But in the cast of Founding Era, when compared to the others, it was far from enough. It was as awkward as it could be. Even as Zero's agent, he felt ashamed. After pondering seriously for a bit, Zero's agent said, "How about you look for Fang Zhao for advice? He definitely has a way. In any case, we have cooperated with him a few times. We are not strangers." "Don't mention Fang Zhao to me," Zero said angrily. "Looks, figure, family background, qualifications, reputation. How am I inferior to him?" Zero's agent: I actually don't know how to respond. Whatever I say is wrong. Chapter 308. As the days passed, the number of people completing their scenes increased, but very few people left the cast unless there were urgent matters or other arrangements. During their free time, an actor asked another person, "When will you collect your bento box?" The person being asked looked at the sky in disappointment. According to the filming schedule, it should be within these 2 days. The person in front patted the shoulder of the latter. "Let's work hard together." "What about you?" "Me? Ha 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 ha, my bento box is getting cold." "Already collected? When are you leaving?" "I'm not leaving. I still want to stay and learn." What a good learning opportunity. Those who had finished filming were unwilling to leave. They felt that leaving so early was too shameful. Even if they had to pay for their own food and lodging, they wanted to stay for a period of time. Of course, they could indeed learn a lot and benefit a lot. They had to pay for manual labor, move things, carry equipment, and be an extra. If they were lucky, they might even be pulled in for an emergency and play a role that would last a few minutes. Even if they could not recognize the character after the makeup was on, they would still be satisfied. They were willing to pay for their own labor, and their management company supported them and even reimbursed a portion of their expenses. If they met a generous company, they would directly reimburse them. Only by staying in the cast and crew could they continue riding the big ship of founding era. Whether it was from an actor's own value or the company's commercial interests, staying was the best choice. Many of the actors who were able to squeeze into the cast and crew were capable. They could act like old people and act young, so the cast and crew did not chase them away. Fang Zhao's filming was also very smooth, and there were no more situations where he went all out. He was here to act, not to use his power to suppress others. That would not be beneficial to cooperation. A historical drama was not history, and the other actors were not the characters themselves. Fang Zhao was very clear on the distinction between reality and memory. Right now, he was just collaborating with the other actors and actresses. From an artistic point of view, he was going to film Founding Era, which was based on real history. He was going to let more people remember what had happened in that era, and remember the people who had sacrificed for this land. From a cultural and artistic point of view, he wanted to leave a mark in history. Because his goal was different from others, Fang Zhao was very serious about this matter. Furthermore, it was not considered arduous for him, so he looked much more relaxed than others. It was not that he did little. Actually, in the Yenzhou Chapters filming team, his workload was heavier than others, and the filming was more arduous. He had not even used a stunt double, and had to do everything himself. If it had been someone else, they would have collapsed from exhaustion long ago. But Fang Zhao was still very energetic every day. He was full of energy and had a good appetite. Other people could not even finish a box lunch, but he could eat 3. Some people in the cast and crew liked to watch Fang Zhao eat. Seeing him eat with relish and eat a lot, they also felt a little more hungry and stuffed a few more mouthfuls into their mouths. An old actor saw Fang Zhao eating with gusto and couldn't help but ask, "Fang Zhao, how can you eat so much?" Fang Zhao swallowed the food in his mouth and replied, "Because I'm hungry." The old actor choked and sighed to the people beside him. Given Fang Zhao's physical and mental qualities, it's no wonder he was promoted during his military service. Who wouldn't be tired and hungry during filming? But sometimes, for some reason, he just felt uncomfortable in his heart. Perhaps it was because he was still immersed in his role and had yet to completely extricate himself from it. He felt suffocated and panicked, causing a physiological repulsion. He couldn't even swallow his food. But look at Fang Zhao. A while ago, he was more engrossed than anyone else, but after filming was over, he was squatting at the side and wolfing down his food. Others were still holding their lunch boxes in a daze and trying to ease their emotions. But this person had already eaten his second meal. When the others finally adjusted their emotions and came out of their roles, this person had already finished his 3rd lunchbox and went to help the rest of the cast and crew. When the others had finished stuffing their food with difficulty, memorized their lines, and adjusted their emotions, This person ran back and got the makeup artist to adjust his makeup. In a second he got into character. Another old actor sighed. He really is a natural actor. How many years has it been since I've felt this kind of pressure? The old actors said as they looked at Feng Zhao, who had once again entered into filming mode. This was why many of the big-name old actors in the cast and crew felt pressured. If the younger generation performed too well, it would seem that the older generation lacked motivation and weren't dedicated enough. The cast and crew's filming progress was very fast. Now that season 2 was almost done, the actors had already adapted to the climate and environment here, and had also gotten used to this kind of filming intensity. They were all skilled actors, so after adapting, filming was even faster than in the first season. Now the makeup on the faces was very simple. There were masks specially made for each actor and character. After sticking it on the face, the makeup artist would slightly touch it up. Under the high-definition cameras, there would be no traces of makeup, which saved a lot of time. Clothing, scars, and other aspects were the same. With the advancement of technology, it had become simple and time-saving. There was no need for a lot of time to put on makeup. Efficiency naturally increased. The second season was being filmed, while the first season was in production. It was said that production was almost complete. Don't look at how fast filming was. On one hand, everyone in the cast and crew was working hard. On the other hand, the preparation period was long. The Founding Era project had not been prepared after the official start of filming. It had been proposed a few years ago, but it had not been implemented. The script had been out long ago. It was just that after the official start of filming, the consultant team had been asked to look over it and make some changes. The design plans for the buildings, decorations, and other things had long been prepared, down to the finest details. As for the actors, the insiders who were well informed had already been making preparations a few years ago. They were just waiting for the project to start. As for the accompaniment, the music team had stocked up on it. Some capable teams could even come up with music that suited the plot at the last minute. With so many elites and geniuses, Roman would use whoever's work could meet his requirements. Just because filming was fast did not mean that the production was shoddy. Post-production was also strictly controlled. With Roman, a head director with high standards, nobody could even think of fooling around. From the filming to the post-production, everyone gave their all. The entire crew was like a high-precision, high-efficiency machine that operated at full speed. Other than filming assignments, Feng Zhao and the other actors playing important roles in the cast and crew had to visit a psychologist every once in a while. This was the arrangement of the cast and crew. There were also clear requirements that actors like Feng Zhao, who had more important scenes, had to visit once every 7 days. This was to prevent actors from getting too immersed in their roles and affecting their mental health. It was not that the cast and crew did not care about the physical and mental health of the actors. Actually, many aspects had already been considered. Actually, the original plan had been to completely seal off filming and cut off the internet until filming was completed. But in the end, it was changed to 2 hours of internet time every 7 days. This was also a suggestion from the psychologist team. This was to give the actors some time to vent their emotions. The psychologist in charge of Feng Zhao's side was called Dayu. Dayu knew a lot of actors. Now that he had joined the cast and crew, even though he was not involved in filming, he could tell from his conversations with the actors that this was probably the toughest time for them. He would understand the psychological state of the actors through his conversations with them. From Dayu's professional perspective, Founding Era was like a gloomy black forest, filled with strangeness and danger. When actors stepped into it, they had to be extremely careful, even brushing aside a leaf. The deeper they went, the deeper they sank, and the more dangerous it became. Any object could become a threat. Other people were hell. What Dayu needed to do was to guide the actors, who had sunk deep into the darkness, out. The other actors were fine, but when it came to Feng Zhao, Dayu encountered a problem. Every time he faced Feng Zhao, Dayu had a feeling. While he was dissecting Feng Zhao's mentality, Feng Zhao, who was sitting in front of him, was similarly scanning his mentality. Dayu coughed lightly to alleviate the strange feelings that had just arisen. Recalling his conversations with the other actors, he continued. The people of that era became like wild beasts. If they lost their humanity, it meant that they would lose a lot of precious things. Feng Zhao. Losing their bestial nature, losing everything. Dr. Dai paused, glanced at Feng Zhao, then quickly averted his gaze. He nodded and said, That's right, they were all forced. If they didn't change, they wouldn't be able to survive. Dayu took the initiative to find a few more topics to talk about, and chatted with Feng Zhao for about 10 minutes before decisively ending this conversation. After Feng Zhao left, Dayu poured himself a cup of warm water and finished it. The fingers holding the cup were still trembling slightly. After drinking, he stared at the chair Feng Zhao had sat in and pondered. If one was attentive, they would notice that every time Feng Zhao came over, the position of the chair was slightly further away than the others. Dayu knew from the few conversations that Feng Zhao was very dangerous, and was far from being as harmless as he looked. His true personality was probably closer to the character he played in the series. Unlike other people, who seemed to be stealthily moving through a dangerous forest because of their acting, Feng Zhao had a gloomy forest in his heart that had already taken deep roots and could not be uprooted. Dayu was powerless. Feng Zhao's aura was probably closer to that of people from the period of destruction. Perhaps it was because of this that Roman and the other members of the Committee of 100 had chosen him. However, all this had nothing to do with Dayu as a psychologist. All he had to do was make sure that the actors did not sink too deeply into their acting. Looking at this period of time, it seemed that the others had some tendency and needed to talk more and guide more. As for Feng Zhao's side, he just needed to go through the motions. Many young actors were nervous when they came here, but talking to Feng Zhao was the one that made Dayu the psychologist feel the pressure. Every time Feng Zhao came over, he felt very uneasy, as if he was being watched by a ferocious beast. That's right, here Feng Zhao was not nervous. He was nervous. December passed, and a new year and a new month arrived. What followed was the half-minute-long trailer for Founding Era. The soundtrack for the trailer was produced by a famous music group. The opening was played by a piano, accompanied by a violin. It was low and oppressive, yet it seemed extremely quiet and desolate. At the beginning of the trailer, the truck driver leaned against the steering wheel, his fists clenched tightly. His gaze peered through the cracked windshield, hesitating. The shepherd's trembling hand gripped the hatchet, drops of blood dripping from the tip of the blade. The prison guard in the prison sat on the ground, quietly lighting a cigarette. A woman dressed in luxurious clothing stood atop a castle, gazing into the distance. People crawled out from the ruins, staggering step by step, as if they were walking into an abyss. Mountains and rivers shattered, homes destroyed, the sun and moon without light, stars falling, struggling in the flames of war, advancing in the darkness. A feather stained with blood floated down against the light. Near hell, war without rest, disaster without end. Following the rise of the melody, the drumbeats became stronger, and the colors on the screen intensified. Rising in the darkness, reborn from the ashes. In the long and lonely hours, freedom, survival, blood, watchfulness. 12 monuments appeared. Countless names flashed by. The 100-year period of destruction, the magnificent waves in history books, the twists and turns in the eyes of future generations. A long journey, 100-year reflection. Founding Era, January 28, 12 noon Huangzhou time. All 11 chapters will be broadcasted simultaneously. This was not a twisted fantasy, but a work of art based on historical facts. A collection of video entertainment, history, and spiritual culture all in one. January 1st, year 535 of the new era, the first day of the new year. Following the appearance of the trailer, all major forums, video websites, interactive platforms, newspapers, and magazines, all were occupied by Founding Era. Without a doubt, this was the main theme for the coming year. The internet was in jubilation. It's finally going to be broadcasted. I'm counting the days every day. They are all big names. It feels so good to randomly find a celebrity. This is an unprecedented luxury. Looking forward to it. The 12 people that appeared at the start of the trailer are the 12 generals, right? Idiot. How do you study history? There are only 11 generals. Fang Zhao is not one. Ha ha ha, the Wu Yin in the trailer is still a baby. 11 chapters. I'm a Yinzhou person. I'll watch the Yinzhou chapter first before going to the other chapters. How nice. 11 chapters broadcasted at the same time. I'm a Yinzhou person. Which one should I watch first? I'm a Huangzhou person. Why isn't there a Huangzhou chapter among the 11 chapters? Among the 12 continents, because of the historical background of the period of destruction, Huangzhou was a little special. It was the only continent without a native general, and was not named after any general. Now that Huangzhou was the political center of the world, the people of Huangzhou always had a high and mighty mentality, but this time, the people of Huangzhou were very depressed. Our Huangzhou has been reduced to a supporting role in founding era. I don't know when we can see a plot related to Huangzhou. Only at the end of the series will there be scenes from our continent. Whatever, as long as there is something to watch. After the premiere, there would be 2 episodes a day from Monday to Friday, with breaks on Saturday and Sunday. But the series would only be broadcasted on the 28th, and it was only the first. There were still more than 20 days left. How could they endure it? If they couldn't watch the series, then they would first go to the Cemetery of Martyrs to pay their respects. Fans would also first understand the role their idol was playing, which hero was in the Cemetery of Martyrs, and see what the grave number was. Thus, on the first day of the new year, the number of people in the Cemetery of Martyrs started to increase. Isn't it still too early to Memorial Day? Why are there so many people? A staff member of the Cemetery of Martyrs asked doubtfully, as he looked at the people walking around the park. The influence of founding era, another person replied. This year's martyr stickers are selling especially well. Someone else joined the discussion. The stickers that no one bought in the past were sold out at the start of the year. My boss said that he hired artists to speed up the work. There are also mini character stickers that have never been heard of before. After entering January, the number of people in the Cemetery of Martyrs seemed to increase every day. Very quickly, following the bombardment of news, even some people who did not pay attention to this aspect knew about the news of the broadcast of founding era on Memorial Day. Over at the various military districts, regardless of whether they were on Earth or on other planets, they all heard about this news and were looking forward to it. There was little entertainment in the military, and it was rare to have a series that the higher-ups supported. Of course, they were looking forward to it. In daily life, people would inevitably mention founding era when they went to work, went to school, or went online. This had already become a national phenomenon. Founding era was broadcasted on Memorial Day. Schools and companies were on holiday, and there were much fewer people on the streets. The Cemetery of Martyrs was also a little quieter. Finally, the day had arrived. Those who had gathered with their families and colleagues, or those who had been cooped up at home, were all waiting there early. Even those who were in the middle of the night in their time zone stayed up late. When the time came, the first episode was broadcasted, and everyone excitedly started watching. Chapter 309. In the trailer, due to time constraints, the majority of the celebrities that appeared only flashed by. Only a few main leads and important supporting characters could be seen clearly. Now that it was officially broadcasted, most fans were watching Founding Era, with the mentality of counting the stars. Others were just there to join in on the fun and out of curiosity. Only a small number of people were truly interested in this theme. After watching 2 episodes in a row, the strongest feeling many fans had was abuse. Abused to death. How could it not be abused when he started with a wholesale bento box from the start? The first episode opened with a gentle and beautiful light mirror and delicate touch points, creating a peaceful atmosphere of the old era. But what followed was chaos, bloodshed, and cruel disaster. It was a stark contrast. The arrival of the period of destruction meant that even more people would die. Founding Era had its own seriousness and sense of history. The powerful celebrity lineup, did not dilute the propaganda of the mainstream ideology. This was the first time the main production team and the audience had a formal and profound dialogue with that period of history. The history books that people in the new era knew about the events of the period of destruction, in all sorts of historical materials, was just a skeleton. For the vast majority of people in the new era, their feelings were not deep. After all, so many years had passed. But the historical imagery was to give flesh and blood to this skeleton. Flesh and blood were spirit. This way, people could better understand the culture of that era and invest more in it. Roman had always demanded that the battle scenes be realistic and believable, so realistic that it was frightening. He felt that this was the only way to highlight the spirit of those who had stood out in that era, whether it was those who had left their names in history or those who had not, whether it was for the big or small. Nothing could be missing. It was also because of Roman's high standards and requirements that the scenes in the 11 chapters were coherent and realistic. The design of the sound effects also ensured that this state of realism was maintained. For example, in the Yenjo chapter, the first episode had 2 large-scale battle scenes. There was no music, only sound effects. These were battle scenes that looked very realistic with sound effects as the main lead. But in the battle scene at the end of the first episode, a very tragic and stirring background music was used to push the audience's emotions and achieve a deeper emotional effect. And after that was the epilogue, the list of those who had died in battle, including the names and grave numbers of the martyrs. Coupled with the impressive acting skills of the actors, the resulting effect was many times more impactful. In the past, when fans heard that someone had received a bento box, they would roar with laughter, but now they could not. Heavy and cruel. Perhaps this was history. Not every chapter started at the beginning of the disaster. The timeline of each chapter was different. The Yenjo chapter was a simplified version, starting from when Wu Yan was young. At that time, a few people had already gathered around Fang Zhao. A leader was a form of authority. This was why Fang Zhao already had the temperament of a leader wielding authority at the start of the novel. The personalities of the other characters in the Yenjo chapter were different from the gradual changes in the characters in the other chapters. According to the Yenjo chapter's timeline, they had already adapted to the period of destruction. Because the timeline of the Yenjo chapter was different from the other chapters, this also meant that from the start, the Yenjo chapter's ending song had displayed more casualties than the other chapters. These were all recorded in history. Of course, the higher the list of deaths did not mean that the game officials would give out more bento boxes. On the contrary, in the other chapters, the official bento boxes were basically distributed like wholesale. The other chapters were narrated from the beginning of the disaster. The peaceful world was directly attacked and turned into a living hell. Some small stars and internet celebrities who played small roles received a bento box at the beginning. Fans of various schools were abused until their hearts were in turmoil. This was just the beginning. Based on the current situation, there would definitely be a lot of bento box wholesale later on. On the internet, more than 90% of the trending topics were related to founding era. Some were from the teams behind the various companies and celebrities, and some were from the general public. Some people even specially listed the celebrities that appeared in the first episode. Let's take a look at the pitiful ones who received bento boxes at the beginning of the chapter. Small-time celebrities who had not been bothered by hype in the past were especially excited now. The teams behind them also seized the opportunity to operate. The dividends that founding era had brought them were already beginning to show. A few of them had not been very famous in the past, but because their roles had left a deep impression, even if they only appeared for a few minutes, as long as they operated well, they would be able to increase their popularity by quite a bit. Of course, the most obvious ones who had the ability to compete for the headlines of the mainstream media were the protagonists of the various chapters. As for the Yenjo chapter, before Wu Yan had grown up, Fang Zhao had been the protagonist of the Yenjo chapter. After all, according to the timeline, Wu Yan had still been young in the first season, and his screen time had been slightly less than the protagonists of the other chapters. There was no way to simplify Fang Zhao's screen time, because too many things revolved around Fang Zhao. This aura of Fang Zhao. Amazing. Photo, photo, photo. Some people took screenshots of Fang Zhao's fighting scenes in the first episode of the Yinzhou chapter. There was even a screenshot of Fang Zhao's facial expression. Death stare from the Zhao god. I felt a chill down my spine when I saw this scene. Let me also upload a screenshot, photo. This is the monster fighting scene that flashed through the trailer. I never expected it to be a 1v6. It's a 1v7. There's still one hidden at the back. It looks very casual, but if you look closely it isn't. Every move is ruthless, direct and efficient. Killing intent follows like a shadow. There's also a scene in a meeting. When Fang Zhao's gaze swept over the camera, that oppressive feeling comes. Is this the aura of a leader? Awesome. I can't tell that this is a newcomer's acting. Fang Zhao is indeed rather impressive. Wait a minute. Which Fang Zhao are you guys talking about? I can't even tell who he is. How are we going to discuss it in the future? Heh. Fang Zhao is only a newcomer when it comes to acting. He's already famous in the gaming and music circles. Gaming fans have dug up the classic video from Battle of the Century to watch again. It's a different approach, but achieves the same result. Yinzhou's well-known film critics also gave their evaluations of Fang Zhao. There are some people who, given a chance, can soar to the heavens in a single bound. Fang Zhao is that kind of person, reaching the pinnacle on his debut. Another film critic said, reaching the pinnacle on his debut sounded very impressive, but it could actually be understood in two contexts. One was that Fang Zhao soared upon his debut, far surpassing other actors of the same level and stepping onto a peak that many newcomers had been unable to reach for many years. And the other was that he reached the pinnacle on his debut, and then began to decline. This was the brilliance of that film critic. Now, according to the public's understanding, these were good words that were praising Fang Zhao. But if Fang Zhao were to decline in the future, that film critic could still give another explanation. Even so, there were still many media outlets that quoted that film critic's evaluation of Fang Zhao as reaching the pinnacle on his debut, praising and lamenting. A newcomer, an outsider who had never acted before and couldn't even be considered an actor, relying on founding era. Fang Zhao had truly made a name for himself in the showbiz circles. At a certain military district, there was also a group of people who had gathered to watch Founding Era. They watched all 11 chapters one by one. When they had just finished watching the Yinzhou chapter, one of them pointed to the screen and asked another, "Back then, you chose this person to play the role of Fang Zhao?" "Yes, it was this actor. I even voted for him back then. Now it seems like my choice was right. Indeed, he acted rather well. He made people remember him in an instant. His temperament was especially different from other people. There were too many celebrities. Those who were dazzled by them, or were unable to recognize people due to face blindness, might not be able to remember the face of Fang Zhao. But they would remember his temperament. The next time they saw him, they would clearly not be able to recognize his face, but they would be able to match the character in an instant. Many celebrities simply could not be identified after putting on makeup, and their originally faint impressions became even fainter. But Fang Zhao left a very deep impression on them. Another reason they were more inclined towards Fang Zhao was that Fang Zhao had come from Baiji Military District. One just had to check the news from back then to know. This actor was also once a soldier. He really fought terrorists. No wonder. You can feel that kind of murderous aura in the fight scenes. Although the other actors can also act a little, that kind of murderous aura is not as realistic as his. Soldiers who had really been on the battlefield were very sensitive to this sort of aura. The other actors are not bad either. They are much better than those so-called war movies of the past. They are rather well shot. Let everyone see this movie. It is not like those nonsensical movies of the past. There are no exaggerated performances, especially the fight scenes. We should be able to immerse ourselves in them. There were many one-take fight scenes. They were cold, clean, and not at all showy. There were not many flashy fight scenes in this movie. What the cast and crew had learned during their training was also different from what they had filmed in the past. In the past, The fight scenes in the movies had been done to look cool and look good. Now it was more realistic. Due to artistic needs, when Feng Zhao was filming, he had actually added an appropriate amount of traces of acting. Not too much, not too little. It was just right and looked more natural in front of the camera. This was for the effect of filming. It was a change that Feng Zhao had made after Shen Wei and Roman's guidance. Of course, other people did not know that Feng Zhao had deliberately changed his acting for the effect of filming. In the eyes of the older veterans in the industry, Feng Zhao's understanding of the character, his foundation in his lines, his movements and other aspects were very satisfactory. This made the people who had voted for him in the Committee of 100 feel at ease. Apart from being at ease, they also felt a little pleased. What did so many good reviews mean? It meant that our eyesight was good. Look, from a bunch of capable big-name actors, we picked the most suitable but not famous one. Now that they had the confidence, they naturally praised Feng Zhao in a good way when they were interviewed or writing reviews. Praising Feng Zhao was equivalent to praising themselves. At the same time, they could also slap the faces of those who had previously refuted and doubted Feng Zhao. Their eyesight was better than theirs. It also let the students of film and television arts schools see clearly who was the one who had a discerning eye for talent. At this moment, they could more or less understand Roman's mentality. This sort of feeling was indeed rather satisfying. Yinbei Retirement Facility. Great-grandfather Feng wiped his tears. His eyes were red. He did not know if it was because of the heaviness in the series, or because of the great-grandson in the series. After watching 2 episodes, great-grandfather Feng kept staring at the screen, his gaze unfocused. No one knew what he was thinking, but he remained silent. Great-grandmother Feng's eyes were also red. She sighed and said, "It really wasn't easy to survive in that era." Little Zhao also acted well. The internet says that this sort of one-take fight scene has to be filmed many times before it is successful. Actors work very hard and can get injured. And in the Yanzhou chapter, Little Zhao has more scenes like this than anyone else. Who knows how much suffering he had to go through to achieve this kind of effect. It really wasn't easy. Of course, how could such an effect be achieved without hard work? Great-grandfather Feng had just held back his tears, but now they were flowing again. The 2 elders sat there and chatted for more than an hour about the cruelty of the period of destruction, the personality changes of survivors, and Feng Zhao's filming life outside the series. Shall we watch the other chapters now? Great-grandmother Feng asked. They had told the younger generation of the Feng family in advance that they should come early if they wanted to and not look for them today. Thus, no one came to disturb the 2 elders today. The 2 elders had planned on watching the series all day. No need. Let's wait for a few hours first, great-grandfather Feng said. When his emotions had calmed down, great-grandfather Feng browsed the news online. When he saw the words of praise for Feng Zhao, he smiled until the wrinkles on his face were about to blossom. He wiped away his tears and snot, washed his face, and went out to chat with his old companions. Fiery Bird's Yanzhou branch, the Diting series of headphones and sound equipment that Feng Zhao was endorsing, had once again become popular. After the first and second episodes of Founding Era were broadcast, sales had increased significantly. Some city-level warehouses in Yanzhou were out of stock, and there were even more empty warehouses in other continents. The influence that Founding Era had brought was on a global scale. Feng Zhao's momentum. If we want to renew Feng Zhao's contract, we will definitely have to increase the endorsement fee. Otherwise, he might not renew our contract. Then are we still going to sign with him? Nonsense. Of course we're going to sign. The design department already had a plan, but we didn't know how Feng Zhao's situation would be after Founding Era, so we had shelved it. Now that Feng Zhao is on the rise, the new product plan will definitely be implemented. The new Diting series model, a high-end model. Feng Zhao was already playing a leader. Of course, he had to get a high-end model that cost at least 5 figures. All right, I will leave him a message first. They only have 2 hours of online time every 7 days. We still have to wait a few days for his reply. Why doesn't Feng Zhao have an agent? It was rare for Fiery Bird to take the initiative to look for an endorsement and make them wait a few days. However, this was a rule set by the founding era cast and crew. It wasn't something that Feng Zhao or any particular actor had decided, so Fiery Bird couldn't do anything about it. Feng Zhao wasn't the only one that Fiery Bird looked for an actor to endorse, but now, they had to wait to find an actor to shoot a new commercial. Soon, there would surely be even more manufacturers heading to Planet Y to shoot a commercial while the actors were resting. The products endorsed by the main cast and important supporting actors, those who had appeared in the first few episodes, and those who were popular online, had all seen an increase in sales. Founding Era was a big ship that carried the interests of countless people. But at the same time, the original goal of this film project was also in the process of being completed. Chapter 310. There was a lot of praise for Founding Era online. There were also a few famous critics who evaluated Founding Era as the most realistic historical drama since the beginning of the new era. For someone like Feng Zhao who understood real history, he was still lacking a lot. However, movies and TV series were still movies and TV series. It was a form of art. To be able to restore history, to a certain extent, was already very rare. Looking at online news reports of people going to the graves that other than cleaners, Feng Zhao was quite happy that other people were going this year. It was a good thing that people remembered, even if it was just now. As a milestone historical drama, Founding Era would definitely be rebroadcast in the future, and the number of views online would definitely be even higher. Even after many years, as long as there were people watching, they would know about these people and these things. Being remembered was also a blessing. There were even more people who had not been able to leave their names behind, let alone have a tombstone. Feng Zhao agreed to Fiery Bird's endorsement contract renewal. Fiery Bird's conditions were not bad, and it was just taking time to shoot some photos. There was not much else to do, and it would not delay filming. Actually, in the cast and crew, most people accepted endorsements and commercials. The cast and crew's request was that it did not delay filming. They could accept endorsements, but they could only shoot for a few short days after the end of a season. Furthermore, they could only shoot at a location designated by the cast and crew. Actors still could not leave the area. Manufacturers had to apply for permission and sign a confidentiality agreement. Not every manufacturer could send people to Planet Y. Therefore, some actors who had finished filming felt that they could not wantonly accept commercials and delay earning money, so they left the cast and returned home. Roman was actually very reluctant. He did not want actors to accept commercials during filming, but Founding Era was a little special. It involved too much of the dark side of human nature. Even if it was not completely displayed in front of the camera, actors would still analyze it in depth when trying to figure out their roles. If this goes on, there will be problems. Let them find something to do. After all, their filming time is not long. Half a day is enough, the psychologist team leader told Roman. I wonder how the people of the period of destruction survived. Living in that kind of environment, would they have become crazy and perverted? Those who did not break down were all strong people. Roman clicked his tongue and did not say anything, but in his heart, he agreed with what the other party said. Sometimes, when he thought too much, he felt that the darkness and bloodshed of the period of destruction made him breathless. There were many scenes that were not suitable for the audience to see, but he was very clear. Therefore, although they were not satisfied with the actors accepting advertisements during filming, they still agreed in the end. He himself was about to become crazy, so he couldn't ask others to become crazy like him. I heard that Feng Zhao also accepted advertisements, the psychologist team leader asked. It's a Fiery Bird endorsement. A few photos and a short video can be taken within an hour. Furthermore, given Feng Zhao's condition, he can shoot for a whole day without a problem. I feel at ease with him. When Feng Zhao was mentioned, Roman had a slight smile on his face. Roman had also seen the comments on the internet. Naturally, he was delighted. Have you seen the full film? How is it? Didn't that kid act very well? Roman asked. Indeed, it's pretty good, the psychologist team leader said. Feng Zhao, that person, is very suitable for that role. He had heard from the psychologist in charge of Yinzhou's actors that Feng Zhao's situation was something they could not resolve. In private, they had once said that there was a type of black called the period of destruction black. Feng Zhao's insides were of this color. Roman, who was so pleased with himself, did not notice the strange expressions on the psychologists' faces when they mentioned Feng Zhao. However, when Feng Zhao was mentioned, Roman was reminded of another person in the cast that had given him a headache. The smile that had just appeared on his face disappeared completely in an instant. Zero, the person that the Lizhou governor had personally called to mention. Feng Zhao and Zero were polar opposites in the head director's heart. One could not be compared to anyone, and the other could not be compared to anyone. When Feng Zhao was mentioned, head director Roman felt that there was no one in the entire cast that could compare to Feng Zhao. And when Zero was mentioned, head director Roman felt that in the entire cast, any one of the extras could act better than Zero. Those training sessions that he had previously arranged for Zero had been taught to a dog. There was simply no effect. Zero had only appeared twice in the second season, and both times, he had not passed even after 3 takes. In the end, he had to be guided a few times before he barely passed. In the second season, Zero basically only showed his face. The number of lines he had could be counted on one hand, and it had taken him a few takes to pass. The Lizhou chapter's executive director was not in a good mood. His face was gloomy. Head director Roman, who had high expectations, was even more irritable. Just thinking about it made his stomach hurt, and he could not eat. Now that the second season had already finished filming and was in production, the third season was also in the midst of filming. In the third season, Zero's scenes had clearly increased. I say, Senior Master Zero, for the sake of Lizhou, and for the sake of the Lizhou chapter, that was produced with great difficulty, you should withdraw from the cast. I support Zero. But Senior Master, when exactly are you coming out? Could it be that you are not acting well, and have already withdrawn, hiding and not uttering a word? Haha, maybe that's true. Even with the Renault family backing him, how can a director with high standards like Roman, and an executive director at that, tolerate him ruining the series? The illustrious reputation of the Lizhou governor has been ruined in the hands of this grandson. Seeing so many people asking on the social media platform, some people even resorted to psychological methods. This method was rather effective against Zero. Seeing those comments, Zero was infuriated. This time, even the automatic filtering system couldn't filter them all. He simply couldn't ignore them. Furious, Zero directly posted a new message on the online social media platform. Season 2 is starting. Ask again and commit suicide. He couldn't reveal the specific episode, but Season 2 was coming soon. Zero revealing that he would appear in Season 2 was within the acceptable range, and the cast and crew wouldn't blame him. It could also increase the audience's anticipation. How many people in Lizhou were waiting to see Zero make a fool of himself? The moment this message appeared, Lizhou netizens, who didn't mind the commotion blowing up, swarmed over. This suicide? Does it mean Zero committed suicide? Or did he make the person asking him commit suicide? Duh, it's definitely Zero who committed suicide. Right. That's right. It means Zero himself. So that's how it is. Zero, will you really appear in Season 2? Looking forward to it. Senior Master, are you sure you'll appear in Season 2? I didn't see it just now. Which season did Zero appear in? When I heard Zero was going to commit suicide, I dropped what I was doing and rushed over to watch. I'm also here to see how Zero will commit suicide. Very quickly, a few mainstream entertainment media outlets in Lizhou pushed the headlines of Zero's suicide. Because of this, many members of the Renault family urgently contacted Planet Y. The Lizhou governor also took the time to ask. Zero's agent explained that it wasn't like what the media had reported. He was also worried about Zero's subsequent filming. There were so many people in Lizhou watching, and people from other continents were also waiting to see Zero make a fool of himself. Yet Zero kept stirring up trouble. He was so worried that his hair was about to fall off. What can I do? I'm also under a lot of pressure. After explaining to all parties, Zero's agent was about to have a good chat with Zero when he saw Zero sitting there quietly, looking into the mirror. It was rare for him to have some self-doubt. His back view was bleak. Chapter 311. Because Feng Zhao saw Zero as a junior and knew Zero's character, Feng Zhao did not bother with Zero's attitude that offended people easily. Being an actor is really not easy. Reading scripts, memorizing lines, attending training classes, pondering over the role, and pondering over the concept. How tiring. Zero grumbled. Most importantly, he felt that he had worked hard, but others wouldn't admit it. He felt very sullen. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to fight for his pride, he would have packed up and left. Feng Zhao chuckled. From an artistic point of view, you guys are also changing the world. It's all worth it. Zero didn't notice the deeper meaning of you guys in Feng Zhao's words. Hearing Feng Zhao say this, Zero felt rather proud. Changing the world. Yes, a critic had said that Founding Era had influenced people of the new era spiritually and spiritually. That's what I should do. Although my acting is very good, I hope to play this role even more deeply, to change even more people on a mental and spiritual level. Zero waited for Feng Zhao to give him some suggestions. Zero had placed himself in such an important and high-profile position. Feng Zhao should at least give him some suggestions, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be nice. Feng Zhao didn't know much about the Lizhou chapter, especially the earlier parts. He wasn't familiar with them, and hadn't finished reading the script. In the consultant team, he was only in charge of the Yanzhou chapter. Feng Zhao pondered as he listened attentively to Zero's upcoming scene, and listened to him talk about the role he was going to play. Actually, those training classes had been effective. At least in terms of understanding the role, Zero had indeed improved. It was just that Zero hadn't absorbed much of the professional acting knowledge and practical techniques that the teacher had taught him. The next scene to be filmed would be a conflict between the character Zero was playing and his partner. This was a common conflict during the period of destruction, but it wasn't easy to act well, at least for Zero. Given Zero's personal experience and his different way of thinking, it was too challenging to act out the effect the director wanted. Even if he could understand the character he was playing and knew the emotional effect the director wanted him to play, he wouldn't be able to act it out. As he acted, he would be drawn into himself, and the character would go awry. That was why Zero felt that he was acting well, and was very engrossed. But in the eyes of others, his character was crumbling. Zero was not suited to acting in such a serious historical drama. But since he had come looking for him, Feng Zhao would help think of a way. After serious consideration, Feng Zhao said, "If you want to perform the effect that the director wants, it is not impossible." Zero's screen time had increased in the third season, but overall, his screen time was still light. Therefore, if they couldn't improve Zero's acting skills, they would have to find another way to save the day. If you are just looking at the effects of the shoot, there is a method that might be suitable for you, Feng Zhao said. Zero perked up. What method? You just have to suffer a little, Feng Zhao added. How bitter? That's not really hard. It's a little uncomfortable, but it's only for the duration of the acting. Zero seriously pondered for a moment and asked, "Will it hurt my face?" "I won't." "Speak." On the other side, the agent who went to the food court to buy mineral water spent 2 hours. Actually, it only took half an hour at most. But Zero's agent could guess what he was thinking. He didn't leave after leaving the house. He watched Zero go looking for Feng Zhao before heading over to the food court. But he pretended he didn't know anything. After buying mineral water, he sat in the food court for over an hour. It was rare for a young master like Zero to lower his head and beg for help. His agent was worried that a conflict would break out. Actually, it wasn't that the cast and crew didn't recognize some big-name actors, and they all had ties to the Renault family. For example, the actor who played General Renault had graduated from a military academy, and had dealings with the Renault family after becoming famous. He was indeed capable, and had been personally selected by old General Renault. Because of the Renault family, that actor would also be concerned about Zero. But because he was the main character, his duties were too heavy, and he was under more pressure than others. He wanted to chat with Zero, but he couldn't find the time. When he finally had the time, the conversation wasn't effective, and Zero drove the other party away. Zero's agent lamented more than once that if Zero's surname wasn't Renault, and he didn't have the protection of the Renault family, he would have been beaten to death. There were other actors who had ties to the Renault family, but basically none of them could talk to Zero calmly for more than 5 minutes. Zero's agent knew what those people were thinking. I'm not your grandfather. Why should I go along with you? I have to consider your emotions at all times. We have our own status and identity. Who isn't busy in the cast and crew? Who isn't stressed out, busy as a dog, and deeply affected by the character? We can't even find a psychiatrist in time. Who cares about your feelings? How shameless are you? Which member of the Renault family who wields real power isn't more impressive than you? At most, I'll suck up to the thighs of other Renaults. If not for your surname being Renault, I would have smacked you to death. Among his peers, there seemed to be no one who could tolerate Zero. Thus, Zero's agent was very worried when Zero went to look for Feng Zhao. Given Zero's character, what if he accidentally offended someone? Zero himself had not expected that his first try would be so successful. It was done in one take. Just as he was feeling pleased, the actor who had just been acting with Zero came over with a complicated expression and pleaded sincerely, "Senior Master, next time you do this, please let me know beforehand." When the smell had assaulted him, the impact had been too great. He had suddenly felt dizzy and had nearly forgotten his lines. When he was in a good mood, Zero was very easy to talk to. Sure thing, sure thing. Zero turned to his agent and said, "Did I act well just now? Was it a little heart-wrenching?" But it was really heart-wrenching. Maybe it was because I ate too much garlic and sauces during my first try, and my stomach was upset. Feng Zhao seemed to have mentioned that tea, milk, or something else could alleviate it. Hey, he had prepared those things for me and forgot to bring them. Hurry, 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 let's go back. Zero pulled his agent away with quick steps. Zero's agent could no longer be bothered with the smell of stinky feet surrounding him. He was afraid that Zero had really eaten some dark cuisine, and if something happened, he would have to shoulder the blame. He did not dare delay, and did not return directly to the dormitory. Instead, he brought Zero to the Set District Hospital for a checkup. He would not be at ease without a checkup. After going to the hospital, there were no major problems. After drinking some medicine to buffer his stomach, Zero pulled out his phone, and could not wait to share it with others. There was no internet access in the Set District, but everyone was given a phone that could only be used for calls, and not internet access, and it was limited to the Set District. Feng Zhao, I really have to thank you this time. When Season 3 is over, I will treat you to a meal at the Gourmet Food City. Hey, by the way, if anyone mentions me again, just tell them that from now on the cast of Founding Era, I, Zero, will complete my scenes in one take. Ha 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 ha. Zero's laughter was especially loud. Zero's agent thought to himself, aren't you afraid of diarrhea when you talk big? Zero felt as if he had opened the door to a whole new world. Today's success had allowed him to find the guiding light for his own acting path. It was not that he did not have acting skills. It was just that he was unable to perform to the effect that other people wanted. But if he used this kind of technique, he would be able to accomplish it. On the other side, Feng Zhao had just finished filming a scene and was resting with a few of his fellow actors. They still had to continue filming in a while. When Feng Zhao received the call and found out about what had happened, he smiled. In his previous life, he had once seen one of his subordinates try a similar method for a mission. When analyzing Zero's character, Feng Zhao had thought of this method. Zero was not really a newcomer who did not know anything. With appropriate targeted stimulation, perhaps there might be some results. Now it seemed like it was really effective. Seeing Fang Zhao like this, an old actor beside him asked, "Who was that? I think the laughter coming from the other side sounds a little familiar." It was Zero. He said that the filming over there went very smoothly, and that it was completed in one take. Fang Zhao replied. The other actors resting nearby all had shocked expressions on their faces. They suspected that they had heard wrong. Zero. Who was that from Lizhou? The one who hopped around happily all day long. Other than having a good family background, he did not have a fart of ability, and would only drag the crew down? Completed in one take. When did the Lizhou team's director have such low expectations? Would the lead director agree? In any case, he just did not believe it. Do you believe it? Someone asked Fang Zhao. I believe it, Fang Zhao replied. You will see it when it is broadcasted. After Zero finished his call with Fang Zhao, he called everyone he knew in the cast. Bah, that bastard. I heard that you took 2 takes for a few matches in the Lizhou group. Too lousy. I completed it in 1 take. Not that I am bragging. On the other end of the line, Barbara hung up expressionlessly. Zero listened to the doo-doo sound on the other end of the line, and pursed his lips before changing to another person. Hey Wu Tianhao, I heard that your Tongzhou team's filming yesterday did not go smoothly. You too. Go to more training classes and hone your acting skills. Don't read novels after filming. Fuck you. The sound of Wu Tianhao smashing things could be heard on the other end, followed by the doo-doo sound on the other end. Zero grunted. What a narrow-minded person. Beside him, his agent stared at the ceiling with a wooden expression. Zero continued to call people. Didn't you guys often mock me in the past? Now this young master has completed it in 1 take. Are you stupid? If you can't act, quit the cast. Zero continued to provoke people. In the past, you guys provoked me. Now, I am provoking you guys and pressuring you. The slaps you gave me, I will slap them back several times. Zero felt good showing off to others. When he was finally done, he was in a good mood. He told his agent, Fang Zhao has done a great job this time. Do you think I should give him a big red packet? His pay for this series is not high. He is really pitiful. Zero's agent's tone was calm. I heard that his endorsement fee has doubled. How much? Zero did not mind. Zero's agent gave him a figure. Fuck. How can his endorsement fee be so high? Zero, who had been prepared to help the poor, felt a bucket of cold water pour over his head. Zero's agent continued to pour cold water on him. I calculated it. I won't say much, but I can tell you that he has more money than us. He is not pitiful at all. But if you act well, when the 3rd season airs, it will not be too bad for you to take on endorsements. Definitely. Zero's self-confidence, which had just been shaken, swelled again. He tossed the phone aside and went to look at the script, researching what to eat for the next scene and what ingredients to add. Lead director Roman had also heard about Zero's 1 take at the Lizhou film series. It was not Fang Zhao who had said it, but Zero's own publicity. After watching the part where the Lizhou film series had finished filming suspiciously, Roman felt as if he had seen a miracle and asked, "This improvement is really big. I heard that it was a bit of a trick," someone from the directing team told him. Roman shook his head. Not everyone can use this kind of method. Do you think that no one has tried it before? But how many people can really put on such an effect that fits the plot? Zero still has talent. It's just that his talent is not too mainstream. Looks like there was no need to call the Lizhou governor. After sighing, Roman asked, "Who gave Zero this idea? This is really a good way to deal with Zero's personality." That I am not sure. But I heard people say that Zero went to look for Fang Zhao. After that, that scene was done in 1 take. The director in charge of the Lizhou chapter said. Roman's smile deepened. Oh my, Fang Zhao still has this ability. He could carve a piece of rotten wood into a miracle. What did this mean? It meant that Fang Zhao could still teach people. It meant that Roman's eyesight was good. Look, this is what I recommended. 3 days later, another scene. Zero, who had been publicly acknowledged as a drag, was done in 1 take once again. Very quickly, the entire cast and crew knew about this matter. After that, the lead director changed. Now, whenever he caught anyone not in form, thinking about other things, or not taking filming seriously, he would spit. Look at human Zero. All the actors felt that this time, the lead director was even more ruthless. If it was Feng Zhao, they would have accepted it. Feng Zhao's ability and drive over the past few months was really indescribable, and they were almost immune to it. But if it was Zaro, they would not accept it. Disgrace. Chapter 312. When the second season of the Lijo chapter was broadcast, many people watched with the mentality of watching Zero, but they were still tormented by the official bento boxes. However, some people felt that things would not be the same when Zero came out. When the time came, he would definitely be out of character. Zero's acting skills were only suitable for nonsensical comedies and exaggerated dramas. He was not suitable for this kind of historical drama with an epic background. Of course, there were also people who were more tolerant of Zero. If the plot is too cruel, Zero can at least adjust the mood. Thinking about it this way, it is actually not bad. Unfortunately, in the second season, Zero only came out in the second half, and he only showed his face every time. When he did show his face, it was in a flash. Actually, there was not much to be seen in these few scenes. This greatly disappointed the Lijo audience, which had been filled with anticipation. I thought he was playing an important role. Turns out he only has these few scenes. He has not received his bento box in the second season. He will definitely appear in the third season. I wonder if he will have even more screen time then. Based on my understanding of Zero, his screen time will definitely increase. Otherwise, given his character, he would definitely not be interested in this kind of role. His screen time in the third season will definitely be more than in the second. On a certain online day, Zero posted a message on his social platform. I, Zero, have done it in one take. Tremble mortals. Picture. The accompanying picture was Zero's especially proud face, and he had even made an oh yeah pose. Even through the screen, his smug tone could be heard. The Lijo audience acted as if they had discovered a new continent. They were full of disbelief. Done it in one take. Does that mean he did it in one take during filming? I don't believe it. I don't know whether to believe it or not. There is no way to verify it now. Let's wait for the third season. How about we ask the other actors? But the other actors were silent. Every time they saw comments asking if Zero had really done it in one take, they pretended not to see it. They really did not know how to answer. Instead, the director of the Lijo chapter reposted Zero's post and said, "Very good. Keep it up." This was an affirmation of Zero's one take. This made the people of Lijo look forward to the third season even more. Although they were also looking forward to the storyline, Zero's significance to the people of Lijo was different. In the entire Lijo entertainment circle, Zero was a marvel. Many people liked to scold Zero online, but they had to admit that with Zero around, Lijo's entertainment circle was even more interesting. There was never a lack of news. The Renault family was also looking forward to Zero's subsequent scenes. They could find out about Zero's situation with the crew through other sources. It was true that he had passed the scene in one take, but they really couldn't imagine how effective he would be. When the third season finally started airing, Zero's appearance in the show shocked everyone. This is Zero. Is this a substitute? Did Zero have such acting skills? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. They must have changed the person. After careful analysis, it is indeed him. This rebirth-like transformation. What stimulated him? He doesn't even look like Zero anymore. What are you talking about? If you act like Zero, how can you continue working in the cast and crew? His acting skills are like plastic surgery. It doesn't match up with the Zero I know. I was wrong. It turns out that Zero can also act when he gets serious. Very quickly, the Lijo media was jubilant once again. A certain well-known media pushed the headline of the day. When I get serious, even I am afraid of myself. The accompanying image was Zero's usual image, and a screenshot of Zero's explosive acting skills in the third season. The contrast was stark. The Lijo governor even found time to communicate with Zero. Zero, I am also watching the third season. You have improved a lot. You should be praised. Was filming tough? The Lijo governor's tone was much gentler when talking to this grandson of his, and it lacked the usual sternness. It was hard on you when you were filming. It was especially hard. But there was no other way. My dad said that if I didn't act well, he would break my legs. In the future, I would be locked up at home and not allowed to go anywhere. Zero didn't forget to complain and scam his father. Sure enough, when the governor heard this, he said, "Don't be afraid of him. I will go and have a chat with him tomorrow." The Lijo governor thought to himself, he had also heard the secret to explosive acting skills from Roman. But Roman had also said something fair. Not everyone could achieve Zero's effect. Zero's emotional outburst in the third season had probably taken a lot of effort. If the family put more pressure on him, he was worried that Zero wouldn't be able to take it and would collapse. After all, Zero was still young, and his ability to withstand pressure was limited. After listening to Zero talk about the hardships of filming, the governor gave him a few words of consolation and encouragement, and the call ended. It had been exactly 5 minutes. The governor of a continent was busy with official business. Taking time out of his busy schedule to contact Zero was already a sign of how much he valued Zero. He couldn't possibly talk for 20 to 30 minutes or even longer. A 5-minute call was considered long. On the other end, Zero was rather excited when he received the governor's grandfather's affirmation. His biggest backer in the Renault family was the governor. As long as he could obtain his grandfather's support, no one else was a threat. As for his dad, who would resort to violence at the slightest disagreement, if he said anything more, he would continue to complain. When the third season started airing, the cast and crew had actually finished filming for the fourth season, and filming for the fifth season was about to start. However, there were a few days of rest in between. Zero still remembered Feng Zhao, the hero who had given him ideas, and he also remembered that he had said he would treat Feng Zhao to a meal. So he made a call. "Let's go to the gourmet food city. I heard that there is a new restaurant there. The food is pretty good." Feng Zhao had just returned from the Y base. When he received Zero's call, he didn't think there was anything important, so he agreed. The new restaurant was a comprehensive restaurant with flavors from all continents. There were many customers, and the restaurant didn't provide reservations. When Zero and Feng Zhao arrived, they had to wait for a table. Feng Zhao pointed to the 2 rows of chairs at the side of the restaurant and said, "Sit at the side and wait for a while. Tell me about your filming situation." Zero, who rarely had to wait for a table, had a look of impatience on his face. But when he heard Feng Zhao mention filming situation, he got excited again. Right. I have to tell you about this properly." Zero loved to brag to others about his filming and battles. His scenes weren't that heavy compared to others. After one scene, he had enough time to ponder how to act the next. If the schedule was too tight, and he didn't have enough time to ponder, Zero wouldn't be able to do every scene in one go. But for Zero, being able to do every scene in one go already made him very confident. This was the first time he had been so confident. It felt like he could trample those best actors and actresses under his feet the next day. In his free time, Zero also thought about his glorious future as a star. "I think it's time to change my stage name," Zero said. "Is there a need?" Feng Zhao asked. "Of course. I actually thought about it a long time ago, but my manager rejected it. But now, I feel that I have already embarked on another level of artistic life. What kind of artist can I be without a stage name? I want to become Lijo's top contemporary artist." Feng Zhao. "That's a good idea. What do you think I should change my name to?" "Something special would be best, if it has some old era characteristics. It has to be rich in content, have a spiritual aura, and have character without losing its style. But I can't bear to part with my current name. I want something close to it that sounds more intimate." Feng Zhao, Samoyed. "Sounds not bad. What does that name mean?" Zero asked with interest. "A dog breed from the old era, that is already extinct. People call it the Smiling Angel," Feng Zhao said. "Already extinct?" "Yep. People call it the Smiling Angel. Yep. That's it. You should wait until you have internet access to do some research. There's no rush to change your stage name. You have to compare and treat it with caution, Feng Zhao suggested. That's true. As he spoke, Zero glanced at the door and immediately shouted, Hey Wu Tianhao, why are you running away? Wu Tianhao had originally brought a few actors from Tongzhou over for a meal. After a season of hard work and a few days off, he finally had time for a good meal. Who knew that he would see two people he didn't want to see as soon as he entered? He turned to leave, but Zero noticed him. Wu Tianhao had no choice but to withdraw his leg and raise his voice. Who ran away? Are your dog eyes blind? Wu Tianhao's entourage did not utter a word. These two were descendants of great generals. One was from Tongzhou's Wu family, and the other was from Lizhou's Renault family. It was best not to butt in when these two were quarreling. Wu Tianhao's good mood was gone. Feng Zhao and Zero were always used as comparison points by the film crew's director, especially for those around the same age. Although they had acting skills, Wu Tianhao could not do it in one take every time. Feng Zhao was fine, but he could not even compare to Zero. It was a disgrace. They were both from great generals' families, and people online loved to compare them. In the past, Zero had been at the bottom. Now Zero's acting skills had suddenly soared. Whether it was a trick or some other method, the effects were excellent. Audiences also liked it. How much they had looked down on Zero in the past, they now praised him even more fiercely. They often used Zero to attack people from other continents. Wu Tianhao really did not want to see these two. Just looking at them made him lose his appetite. But Zero was in high spirits, and even waved vigorously. Come, come, come. The more people, the better the atmosphere. Let's eat together. My treat today. Hearing this, Wu Tianhao was unhappy. No need. My treat today. I was here first. Of course it's my treat. Zero refused. Do I lack this little bit of money? Wu Tianhao felt embarrassed. He had already told the cast and crew that he would treat. If he really let Zero treat, who knew what others would say? Oh, do you think I lack it? Zero was a stubborn person. What was not told, he would do it anyway. The Tongzhou actors following Wu Tianhao were also dumbfounded. They had gotten into a fight over such a trivial matter? Was it necessary? It seemed like a dispute, but it also seemed like they were taking the opportunity to stir up trouble. In a fight, Zero was definitely not Wu Tianhao's match, but Zero still had Feng Zhao. It was hard to say which side was stronger. Chapter 313. In Wu Tianhao's and Zero's hearts, they both viewed each other as the biggest stumbling block on their road to being cool. With their backgrounds, it was inevitable that they would be compared, and they would compare themselves to each other. In terms of achievements, Wu Tianhao believed that he would not lose to Zero. But Zero had an area that was stronger than him. Zero had the biased governor of Lizhou behind him. This was something that everyone knew. As long as Zero did not do anything that crossed the line, there would be someone to settle things for him. On the other hand, Wu Tianhao had a lot to worry about. Although the Wu family was still the #1 family in Tongzhou, the Tongzhou governor was too upright and treated the younger generation with a business-like attitude. Zero relied on his backing to jump around especially happily, and his mouth was especially vulgar. Every time Wu Tianhao saw Zero's carefree manner, he was rather annoyed. Now that Zero had been dragged out by the executive director to provoke people, he was even more annoyed. As for Zero, the reason he could not stand Wu Tianhao was even simpler. Anyone more handsome than him, anyone more pretentious than him, would be blacklisted. In fact, there were many reasons why Zero was close to Feng Zhao. Feng Zhao had helped him before, and they had a few business collaborations. Feng Zhao was not like other people who seemed warm, but actually looked down on him, and he would not get angry over a small talk. Of course, to Zero, the most important reason was that Feng Zhao was not as good-looking as he was. Not for the first time, Zero thought to himself, Feng Zhao is not as handsome as me. Back when Feng Zhao had asked him to invest on Planet Y, it had been mainly out of curiosity and anticipation for the film studio complex. They were all business partners, and there were few people he could talk to. Wu Tianhao's dojo was also rather interesting. so Zero would drop by when he had nothing to do. But now it was different, especially after joining the same cast and crew. It was as if the two had entered a different arena. Everything was on the line, and everything was up for grabs. For example, right now, the question of who would foot the bill was a trivial matter to others. But these two were holding their breaths and fighting it out, as if whoever held the right to foot the bill would have the upper hand. Childish. These were the thoughts of everyone present. Seeing that the two still could not come to a conclusion, Fang Zhao, who had been standing to the side, asked a shop assistant for a piece of paper and a pen. The shop assistant was curious and stood to the side watching. He had no idea how Fang Zhao had folded the paper. In a few blinks of an eye, the piece of paper had been folded into a small square. Then, he had used a pen to draw different numbers of dots on each of the 6 sides. Use this to decide, Fang Zhao said. The two of them, who were in the midst of a cockfight, heard this and looked over. Seeing what Fang Zhao was holding, Wu Tianhao flashed Fang Zhao a meaningful smile. I didn't expect you to be a kindred spirit. Fang Zhao smiled and did not explain. Instead, he said, it is still up to you to decide who will pay for this meal. Whoever tosses an odd number will pay. How about that? The corners of Wu Tianhao's mouth curled up, but he suppressed it and looked at Zero. I have no objections. Me neither, Zero replied. Fang Zhao handed the dice over. Wu Tianhao raised his chin at Zero. You first. Zero, who was about to take the dice, immediately retracted his hand. Do I need you to give me a chance? You first. This time Wu Tianhao did not refuse. He took the dice from Fang Zhao's hands, weighed it, and twirled it twice with his fingers. Then, with a confident smile, he casually tossed the dice onto the table beside him. The dice rolled a few times on the table, and stopped with the last dot facing up. Wu Tianhao's smile widened. All right, this meal is on me. What are you so happy about? I haven't even rolled yet. Zero imitated Wu Tianhao and weighed the dice in his hands. Unable to get any impression, he tossed it onto the table. The dice rolled from one side of the table to the other, then landed on the floor, and rolled a few more times, before coming to a stop. Wu Tianhao glanced at the floor and laughed heartily. A 2. Now you admit it, right? Don't tell me you still want to go back on your word? Zero, who had been about to propose another roll, changed his tune. Am I that kind of person? Fang Zhao also said. This time Wu Tianhao will pay. Zero will foot the bill next time. Everyone thought to themselves, there is a next time? But Zero felt much better. Next time then. In any case, I still rolled a 2, which is bigger than Wu Tianhao's. This actually made him feel a little better. Finally, it was their turn to line up. They were a bunch of youngsters. Coming out for a good meal, of course they had to eat meat. They even chose a barbecue tray. Delicious food always changed a person's mood. The two, who had been at loggerheads just a moment ago, now started bragging again. After 2 glasses of wine, the other actors who had followed Wu Tianhao also relaxed a lot. They started talking about the plot of Period of Destruction, and started talking about who received their bento boxes in which season. That era was really bitter. We were just acting, and the emotions we experienced were not even 1/10 of the characters themselves. If I had really been born during the Period of Destruction, how would I have survived? Zero had been bragging to Wu Tianhao. When he heard this, he said, I remember the old saying, one man's life is short, but 2 lives are long. Based on this saying, the more people there are, the greater the chances of survival. If I had really been born during that era, I would have definitely gathered more people. As he spoke, he turned his head toward Wu Tianhao. You were the one who said this to me. Wu Tianhao was at a loss. Wait a minute, when did I say this to you? Why didn't you say it? In the past, when we were in your newly opened dojo, you told me a novel about flying through the sky and burrowing through the earth. You mentioned quite a few words. That sentence just now was what you said to me. I remember it clearly. Your brain isn't good. Your memory has deteriorated badly. Zero pointed to his own head, then raised his hand and pointed at Wu Tianhao. Bullshit. I swear I never said that. Wu Tianhao slammed the table angrily. An actor beside Wu Tianhao couldn't help but whisper, that. He said, "One man's life is short, but two people are long, right?" I think he learned it in ancient literature class. The room suddenly fell silent. Everyone looked at Zero. Zero rubbed his chin, not the least bit ashamed. "Seems like it. Hey, it's all the same." Everyone looked at Zero, as if he were a mushroom in the middle of a sandstorm. "What a weirdo. Wu Tianhao. Pig brain. Haha. You also know that you have a pig brain. Hurry up and eat something to nourish yourself," Zero said. Wu Tianhao's hand, which was on the table, moved to the side and grabbed the tabletop. Flip's table. It didn't budge. Wu Tianhao, who was ready to flip Zero's face, exerted more force, but it still didn't budge. Weird. Just now, the table was clearly not fixed. Wu Tianhao's gaze swept the room and stopped on the hand on the tabletop. His eyes narrowed. Fang Zhao saw Wu Tianhao look over and gave him a gentle smile. His other hand took the tray from the waiter, retracted his hand from the tabletop, and distributed the roasted meat clockwise to everyone at the table. Wu Tianhao was given the largest piece of meat. Wu Tianhao looked at Fang Zhao, then at Zero, then at his surroundings out of the corner of his eye. Suddenly he felt discouraged. Why would he bother with a fool like Zero? Wu Tianhao thought to himself, bearing. There were still people watching. Not only were there showbiz veterans, but there was also an actress he liked. He couldn't leave a bad impression. If he really flipped the table, how could he still have any bearing? Zero was so angry that he almost went crazy. However, Wu Tianhao had mixed feelings about Fang Zhao. The Wu family admired these capable people, especially those who could fight. And from the looks of it, Fang Zhao didn't want to go against him. "All right, I won't stir up trouble today." Then, Wu Tianhao continued to brag to Zero. Fang Zhao watched from the side and was amused. These two little fellas were really in good spirits. Fang Zhao had noticed that the actors that had followed Wu Tianhao over, although they had concealed it very well, actually gave off a gloomy and depressed aura. This was because they had been too immersed in founding era and had not completely come out. Even though they were on vacation, their moods were still affected. But when Wu Tianhao and Zero had argued just now, the attention of this bunch of people had been drawn away, and the original thoughts in their minds had also been led astray. After the meal, Wu Tianhao paid the bill and left with his entourage, but before leaving, he shot Fang Zhao a "you know what I mean" look. "Fang Zhao, if you have time, let's play around." "Play what?" Zero asked. "None of your business." Wu Tianhao left without looking back. Zero still wanted to ask Fang Zhao, but he suddenly received a call from his agent, saying that he had an endorsement. Thus, he didn't bother asking Fang Zhao and headed back to his dormitory. Fang Zhao also returned to his dormitory, but instead of taking a car, he chose to run back. On the other side, when Zero returned to the dormitory district, he didn't see many people. These few days of vacation, the actors were either resting at home or going to the gourmet food city. Zero was about to head upstairs when someone called out to him. "Sorry to bother you. 2 minutes of your time." Zero looked over. This person is quite handsome, just a little uglier than me. Blacklist him first." "Who are you?" Zero asked. The other party choked. He probably hadn't expected that Zero wouldn't recognize him. He was very popular in Yenzhou and had many fans all over the world. Even if he didn't know his name, he should at least find it familiar, right? But Zero clearly looked at him, as if he was a stranger. Si Lu had originally wanted to introduce himself, but seeing Zero's impatient expression, he decided to keep it simple. "Oh, from Yenzhou." Hearing that he wasn't a Liezhou actor, Zero's attitude softened a little. "My name is Si Lu. I'm an actor from the Yenzhou team." Si Lu asked. "I've run into some trouble with my acting. I just wanted to ask if your method of improving your acting skills is particularly useful." Regardless of whether Zero's methods were approved of by the older generations in the industry, the broadcast of the 3rd season of the Liezhou chapter had successfully dispelled the doubtful voices of the public. It was clear that the effects of the filming were indeed very good. Si Lu was currently facing some difficulties. Seeing that the most crucial part of the 5th season was about to arrive, he just couldn't find his form. He had just gone to seek advice and hadn't gained anything substantial. He hadn't expected to see Zero on his way back, so he had come over with a little hope. Zero looked at the other party as if he was an idiot. Of course it's useful, but you might not be able to use it. Besides, if you have any problems, look for Fang Zhao. He's also from your Yenzhou, so it's much more convenient to look for him. You Yenzhou actors are really weird. If you don't understand, you ask. Isn't this common sense? There's such a person around, yet you guys don't ask and instead come to look for a foreigner. Actually, Zero was just finding it troublesome. He was in a hurry to get back. He was still thinking about the endorsement his agent had mentioned. Besides, Zero firmly believed that his method couldn't be used by others. This was what the lead director had said, not Zero himself. Seeing the other party still standing there in a daze, Zero waved his hand. Alright, go look for Fang Zhao. He is both an actor and a member of the consultant team, and he's on the same production team as you. After saying this, Zero walked away quickly. As he left, he couldn't help but lament. There's something wrong with his brain. Si Lu, who was standing there, heard Zero's last words. His face twitched, but it also made him even more vexed. He wanted to go over and ask Fang Zhao, but he and Fang Zhao weren't in the same company. He was from Neon Culture, an old rival of Silver Wing. Before coming here, his agent had told him to stay away from Silver Wing people. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know he had been conned. Chapter 314. Si Lu was at a loss. Fang Zhao could even teach Zero. As a consultant team member, he would surely be more familiar with the Yenzhou chapter. His understanding of the role might be deeper than the other actors. But he had to listen to people from the financial department. Si Lu had a habit of going to the gym to vent when he was vexed. Every building in the dormitory district had a gym, but there were many people there. There was also a gym, and Si Lu liked to go there. Actually, there was also a place for the lead and important supporting roles of each chapter. The conditions there were better, and there was more personal space. But he couldn't go in. He didn't have the qualifications. Although the cast and crew were on holiday today, there were still many people in the gym. Some people chose to go to the gourmet food court to relieve their stress, while others chose the gym to vent the pent-up negative emotions from the season they had just filmed. Si Lu was also a regular here. When he entered, he saw familiar faces from the different continents. If he didn't greet anyone, no one would pay attention to him. Although everyone was training, they were all immersed in their own thoughts. If you greeted them, they might not be happy and feel like you were disturbing them. Therefore, people who came here would not rashly speak to others unless they were friends. At the start, it hadn't been like this, but after filming season after season, it had formed this strange atmosphere. Sometimes, what you thought was polite behavior, from the point of view of others, would be like greeting your whole family. Therefore, even if you entered the gym now and saw a senior in the showbiz circle, not greeting them would not be considered disrespectful. As Si Lu trained, he continued to wonder if he should look for Fang Zhao. At this time, Fang Zhao, who had just returned from the gourmet food court, walked into the gym. Although he had run the whole way, he hadn't broken a sweat. Fang Zhao played an important role in the series, so he could also go to the special gym. However, he had temporarily lent his training slot to an actor from the same company. That actor needed a certain amount of training and needed a quiet training environment. There were too many people in the other gyms, so the special gym for the lead and important supporting roles was a little better. Fang Zhao didn't have any requests, so he temporarily lent the access card to that actor. The people at the gym had seen Fang Zhao often recently and knew that Fang Zhao had lent his slot to someone else. They were very envious of that actor. If possible, they would naturally want a quieter and more private training environment. It was a pity that there were too many actors here, and the resources were limited. Who asked them to not be the main leads? Si Lu also saw Fang Zhao and paused his training. He was hesitating whether he should go over or not, But before he could make up his mind, Fang Zhao entered the training room on the other side. Fang Zhao entered the area where the sandbags were kept. There were also a few actors training inside. There were more people using the vertical sandbags. Fang Zhao walked directly to the hanging sandbags, the area where the biggest sandbags were kept. The people inside were not surprised. Some people had tried to hit the sandbag and hurt their fists. Thus, that sandbag was basically only used by Fang Zhao. Even when there were many people in the fitness center, the sandbag was empty. Actors from various continents who trained here had the most direct impression of Fang Zhao's martial prowess. He could fight. If hitting such a big and hard sandbag wasn't considered good at it, then what was? Watching Fang Zhao start torturing the punching bag again, some people at the side started discussing in low voices. Look, Fang Zhao is hitting that sandbag again. That sandbag is so pitiful, getting beaten up every few days. You're wrong. That's not the sandbag from last time. The stadium has changed to a new one. It's said that the previous one has been destroyed. No, it seems like they change it every time. How impressive. Do you want to go and practice with Fang Zhao? People from our continent don't have much interaction with Fang Zhao. Why don't you go and give it a try? The person being questioned looked at the newly changed sandbag, then looked at Fang Zhao, shook his head vigorously, and said to his companion, "Not going. What if he can't control his strength and cripples me? My small body can't even take a punch from him. If he can fight so well, why is he an actor? He can go to Majo's arena to fight. Fighting well there is more money than being an actor." Another person at the side interrupted. Let me remind you that Fang Zhao's profession is actually a composer. He even held his first professional concert last year. He graduated from Qian Academy of Music, Yenzhou's #1 school for the arts. The other two people were silent for a while before saying, "Then the question is, why does he want to be an actor? Is it fun to fight for jobs with us?" Fang Zhao didn't know that other people were discussing him. It wasn't that he couldn't hear them, but every time he came over, he didn't pay attention to other people's conversations. Otherwise, as long as he wanted to, even if the sound of sandbags being hit was rather noisy, he could still hear it. Ever since he had joined the cast of Founding Era, other actors had had negative emotions. Although Fang Zhao himself was more clear-headed than them, he wasn't completely unaffected. He would also recall past events and couldn't remain completely calm. Actually, Fang Zhao would rather use shooting to vent his emotions, but there wasn't a shooting range here that met his requirements. Most of the guns provided by the cast and crew weren't real guns. The props were all imitations of those from the period of destruction. After they were manufactured, not many bullets would be produced for safety reasons. Therefore, Fang Zhao would come here every few days to hit a dozen sandbags. The biggest sandbag here was actually specially made according to Fang Zhao's own requirements. He could hit it, but if someone else hit it, the sandbag would be fine, but the fist would be crippled. The cost of breaking the sandbag was also paid by Fang Zhao himself. He didn't ask the cast and crew to foot the bill. After hitting the sandbag, when Fang Zhao came out, someone called out to him, "Fang Zhao." Si Lu had finally made a decision. He had been staring at the sandbag. When he saw Fang Zhao, he got excited, and his voice was a little louder. Everyone else in the venue looked over. Realizing that he had disturbed the others, Si Lu made an apologetic gesture to his surroundings before taking a deep breath. He walked over to Fang Zhao and opened his mouth. There were so many people around, and there were quite a few familiar faces from Yenzhou. He was too embarrassed to ask. The words that he had wanted to say circled around in his head twice before the words that came out were, "Spar?" Everyone else. What a fierce warrior. Especially the people behind Fang Zhao who had finished hitting the sandbag. When they heard Si Lu's words, they gave Si Lu a big thumbs up. His courage was commendable, but it wasn't wise. That broken sandbag inside had become a corpse lying on the ground. Even people who didn't know the tragic fate of that big sandbag had heard of Fang Zhao's capabilities. For 4 consecutive seasons, Fang Zhao was the only one that didn't use a stunt double. Even the martial arts instructor and the people invited by the military had said that if Fang Zhao went to the military, He wouldn't be much different from the elite soldiers in the special forces. Spar with Fang Zhao? Why couldn't I think it through? Too much pressure? After Si Lu finished speaking, he reacted and wished he could give himself a slap. What is this? Looking for a beating? It must have been too much pressure recently, and my brain wasn't working too well. The regretful Si Lu prayed in his heart that Fang Zhao would definitely reject. Then he heard Fang Zhao say, "Okay, over there?" Fang Zhao pointed to a location not too far away. Usually, some actors would go there to better coordinate during fighting scenes. Fang Zhao had just seen the people inside come out, so it was currently empty. Si Lu braced himself and said, "Okay." Half an hour later, Fang Zhao and Si Lu came out one after another. Fang Zhao grabbed his jacket and backpack and left, returning to his dormitory. He looked completely fine, just like when he had arrived. As for Si Lu, he had a dejected look on his face. He grimaced when he moved his arm. Just looking at it hurt. An actor came over and asked, "Were you beaten?" Si Lu shook his head. No. The others didn't believe him, but they didn't pursue the matter. Instead they said, "You weren't hit in the face, didn't suffer any serious injuries, and it doesn't affect your acting." Si Lu saw the sympathetic looks on the others' faces, and couldn't be bothered to explain. Right now he was vexed. He had said he wanted to train, but Fang Zhao had actually let him have his way. If he really had to make an analogy, it was like a master treating his young disciple. He was clearly older than Fang Zhao by more than 10 years. Si Lu didn't stay long at the fitness center. He took his things and returned to his dormitory. When he sat down, although he felt a little exhausted, his mind was much more relaxed. A fight was indeed the best way to vent. His dormitory wasn't a single suite like Fang Zhao's. It was a two-person room. However, the actor in his dormitory had already received a bento box at the end of season 4. If he wanted to continue staying on the cast and crew, he had to pay his own way to another dormitory, and the conditions weren't as good. Now that he was alone, he also had a peaceful environment to think. Si Lu looked at the message his agent had sent him when he had internet access the last time. Besides asking about filming and his physical condition, he had also exhorted him on what to do and how to handle matters on the cast and crew. He had also told him to be on guard against people from Silver Wing. He wasn't the kind of person with high IQ and EQ to be able to make it this far. Besides his own qualifications, he also had an extremely capable agent. This time, he had snagged a good role. Although he would receive a bento box in season 5, the character he was playing was unique. When the time came, even if he received a bento box, his popularity wouldn't be low. Now in Yanzhou, his popularity was much higher than before. Actually, he wasn't someone who liked to hesitate. The reason he had been able to reach his current heights and obtain so much success was because he had relied on his company, his agent, and the team behind him to give him advice. His family had also said that he should listen to the team's arrangements and not act on his own. Otherwise, if he was cheated, all the things he had worked so hard for would disappear. But now he had encountered difficulties. He was going to receive a bento box in season 5, and this was also the most important time for this role. Yet he couldn't find his form, and couldn't act to a satisfactory effect. If this continued, when it came time to shoot, he wouldn't be able to pass it even after a few takes. Si Lu picked up the prop knife. This was the knife used by the character in the series. He had applied to bring it back to get a feel for it, but his mind was always shrouded in fog, and he couldn't figure it out. Sitting in his dormitory and thinking about it, Si Lu still decided to look for Fang Zhao. From what had happened today, Fang Zhao actually wasn't as scary as his agent had said. Fang Zhao had been training with him, and hadn't made any moves to attack. His arm and fist hurt because Fang Zhao's bones and muscles were too hard. On the other side, after Fang Zhao returned home, he had his usual meal to replenish his energy. Fang Zhao also took note of the actor named Si Lu he had met today. Some people would emit an aura that would overwhelm the characters in the series as they acted, but there were also people who would be permeated by the characters in the series as they acted, even to the extent that it would affect their entire lives. If it was some other series that leaned towards the sunny side, that would still be fine. But Founding Era was just as the psychiatrist had said. It was a dark forest, and it was too dangerous for people who ventured deep into it. If one wasn't careful, one's entire body could collapse. The more scenes one had, the longer one was in contact with the characters, and the longer one would be permeated by the characters. If it was just a 2 to 3 hour movie or a drama that had a few dozen episodes, then it wouldn't have mattered. But Founding Era was too long. Each series was estimated to have 10 seasons, and each season had 30 episodes. The actors would be permeated by the characters for even longer periods of time. Looking at the aura on Si Lu's body today, Feng Zhao could tell that the influence of the characters was deeper, but it couldn't be considered serious. Of course, he could also tell that Si Lu seemed to have other things to say, but he just hadn't said them. Just as he finished his meal, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, Si Lu said apologetically, "Sorry to disturb you. I have encountered some problems here. Is it convenient for you to listen and give me some advice?" Zero said that if there are any problems with the Yinzhou cast and crew, it would be best to look for you. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.